subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Episode 23. Facing the all-out night owl, Faye was disturbed by the bat beast and could not control the beast, and was directly beaten into a state of suspended animation. In the 24th episode, he recovered and his supernatural powers were enhanced. It turns out that in other anime, this is the protagonist's pretentious moment. But the Super Beast armor was different, but he was threatened by Night Owl with Tianyu again and was beaten again, and his health was reduced to a low level. The energy is seriously insufficient, and it is forced to enter the Super Beast state after being cured by Yi Lingyun in episode 25, facing the Cloud Bat formation. The Super Beast God 4-in-1 was beaten again. Fortunately, Yi Xiaozhi rebelled, forcing Yi Lingyun to help wipe out the entire Cloud Bat core. The protagonists won. Conan World. Why do I feel like Huolin Fei and the others don't seem to have any rest? Every time they finish dealing with an enemy, they immediately go to find another one. Guang Yin looked at the picture on the screen, stroking his chin and speaking. Yes, he looked very tired. And wasn't it said that Huolin Fei was very talented? Why didn't I see it? Yuan Tai touched his head, and a look of confusion appeared on his dark face. Conan explained. After all, because time was very tight, didn't you look carefully at the beginning? Didn't they say that there are only 7 days in 100,000 years for the 7 parallel universes to be connected? This means that Huolin Fei and his men only have 7 days to act. If they rest for a day or two after each battle, they definitely won't have enough time. Oh, so that's how it is. After hearing Conan's words, everyone suddenly realized what was going on. Back in the light curtain arrived at the 5th parallel universe, and finally met Pluto. Then, first, he was confused by Hades, and when he was about to kill Hades, Pluto suddenly revealed that Tianyu was his daughter, causing Tianyu to betray Huolin Fei and join Pluto's camp. So Huolin Fei was beaten up by Tianyu, who had just recognized him as his father. Just as Huolin Fei was about to attack Hades with his flaming fist, Tianyu suddenly moved and dodged to the side of Huolin Fei, kicking him hard. The defenseless Huolin Fei flew to the side. At the same time, Super Beast World, seeing this, everyone's eyes widened and they looked at Tianyu, who was also shocked. Gurgle, Miao Qiaojuan swallowed his saliva and said hesitantly, Tianyu, you are the daughter of Hades, which means Pluto is your father. Tianyu shook his head, still not fully recovered from the scene, just now not sure. Huolin Fei was very upset. He was beaten again, and by the girl he liked. How about he put his face down? At the same time, he was very conflicted. Since Hades was Tianyu's father, and Rang was his father-in-law, after meeting Hades, should he seal him up? Or what? Should he fight against his father-in-law? Or should he see if he can influence Hades and let him turn from evil to good? In the light curtain in the middle, he also relied on his faith to increase his energy, but he was restrained by the gravity of the underworld and was beaten by Tianyu to a low health. When the team was about to be defeated, the little fat man rushed over to recharge his teammates. The combination of the 3 Super Beast gods made up for the disadvantage. But after Pluto was resurrected, the Super Beast team was taken away by another wave. This concludes the first part. In fact, in many cases, I was beaten together with my teammates. But Afei was always treated specially. If his teammates got 1 beating, he would get 2. If the first part was about a few villains taking turns to gain experience, then in the second part, Feng Yao understood the importance of Monopoly. The beginning of the second part, when a Fai Long and Tai Lei Tianyu broke into the Snow Emperor's castle, they were beaten up by Feng Yao, who arrived from episode 34 to episode 36. Shihue World, that Hades is really strong. Grey Wolf sighed. Although Huolin Fei and his team had been at a disadvantage against many villains after their Super Beasts merged, they could at least fight off a few moves. But facing this Hades, they couldn't even survive a single move. It seems that this Hades is much stronger than Huolin Fei and his team. So, Grey Wolf is a little worried about whether Huolin Fei and the others will be able to defeat Pluto. Doraemon Universe. Nobita's home. That Pluto seems so pretentious. Nobita couldn't help but say, even though he couldn't see the real person through the screen, but Nobita could still feel a strong sense of pretentiousness from that Pluto. Sunio nodded. But are Hualin Fei and the others really the protagonists? Why do I feel like no villain can completely defeat them? And they can't be defeated no matter how hard they try. Are they really the protagonists? Sunio couldn't believe it, whose protagonist is treated so miserably. But I really didn't expect Tianyu to be the daughter of Hades. Shizuka clasped her hands together. Tianyu had been fighting the villains with Hualin Fei from the beginning. But the result was that she turned out to be the daughter of the villain. This was completely beyond their expectations. Fat Tiger snorted coldly. This Tianyu is really ignorant. Although Pluto is his father, he is a big villain who wants to rule the 7 parallel worlds and start a war. How could he betray Hualin Fei? Even if he didn't want to be an enemy of his father, why not just stand by and watch without taking action? Originally, Fat Tiger had some good feelings towards Tianyu, but now he has none of that. Well, Doraemon said with a smile. After all, he is her father. There is nothing we can do about it. But this Pluto is not a villain. He just has different ideas. Chapter 67. Progress in 7 days. The terrifying power of Hualin Fei in the light curtain finally. The Snow Queen arrived, and the two sides reconciled. Fei accidentally reveals Feng Yao's scar from accidentally killing his sister in the same episode, episode 36. Another wave of special attention was given. In the picture, a psychopath who hates evil and kills his relatives without paying for their crimes, white-headed old man. Hualin Fei's mouth curled up slightly, looking at Feng Yao in front of him with a smile. What did you say? After hearing this, Feng Yao, who was already somewhat unhappy with Hualin Fei, could no longer sit still. He flashed in front of Hualin Fei and started fighting. At this time, Hualin Fei's strength was far behind Feng Yao's, and he had no power to fight back, and was kicked away directly. What? This white-haired guy actually killed his own sister? Fat Tiger widened his eyes and looked at Feng Yao in shock. Then he just felt a burst of anger and clenched his fists tightly. Asshole, how could Feng Yao do such a thing? He also has a sister. Although he and his sister often quarrel, he still loves his sister very much. He doesn't even want his sister to get hurt, let alone do something like Feng Yao. That's right, it's totally forgivable. Even Doraemon, who was always calm, couldn't keep calm at this time. After all, he and Fat Tiger both had sisters, and they couldn't tolerate such things. Cough, cough, calm down. It was an accidental killing. Feng Yao may not have done it on purpose. Xiaofu wanted to calm Fat Tiger and Doraemon down. But after hearing what Xiaofu said, Fat Tiger and Doraemon still snorted. Even if it was an accidental killing, the facts will not change. This guy is simply not a human being. The light screen video is playing. Do you think this is the end? In the same episode, Fei was beaten by Feng Yao again because he said that the Snow Queen was sealed by Hades for 100,000 years. It's the same episode again. Because Tianyu is the daughter of Hades, Feng Yao is again in a situation where good and evil cannot coexist. Fei chooses to stand on Tianyu's side and is beaten again. I seriously doubt whether Feng Yao simply wanted to beat Fei. In such an episode, he beat him 4 times, while his other companions were only beaten twice. What kind of hatred or grudge is this? Especially when the Snow Queen takes sides. Every time it's Feng Yao on your side who's beating people up and you don't do anything about it. Oh my god, this Feng Yao actually dared to humiliate me like this. Don't let me catch him, otherwise it's up to me whether I beat him or not. Hualin Fei cursed angrily. This Feng Yao actually beat him 4 times in one episode. This guy is even worse than the Scorpion King and the Whale Shark King. Long Jian complained. You don't sound threatening at all when you say that. Besides, even if you meet that Feng Yao, I'm afraid you will be beaten. You are right, meow. Tiaojia nodded and said, besides, a few of the beatings were caused by you being too mean and poking people where it hurts. I didn't beat you to a pulp. That's because Feng Yao showed mercy. Hualin Fei was speechless and touched his head awkwardly. It seemed that he really couldn't refute anything. That Feng Yao really has a bad temper. Big Monster shook his head and said. Then he traveled back to 100,000 years ago and appeared in episode 55 to help the Lion King fight Feng Yao. But no surprise, still the familiar fist, the familiar force, and was beaten by Feng Yao smoothly. Fortunately, Feng Yao was moved by the friendship between Lion King and Ah Fei and spared their lives, allowing them to leave. I seriously suspect he wants to do farming to facilitate sustainable monster farming. Otherwise, why did Feng Yao go to gain experience again in the 58th episode? However, before he could even start fighting, the misunderstanding was explained by the little fat man in the 59th episode. But in order to save Feng Ying, Ah Fei lost his words in a hurry and was beaten again. After finally explaining the misunderstanding, Ah Fei joked again, saying that it was you who killed your sister, so don't worry. Okay, that's all. Feng Yao punched Hualin Fei again and lay there peacefully. This Hualin Fei is so mean. Zhang Chulan felt like a little baby in front of Hualin Fei. Compared with Hualin Fei, his words didn't have any killing power at all. Hualin Fei was just rubbing salt into his wounds. Yes, it's normal for such a mean mouth to be beaten a few times. Su San smiled. Huh. Su Si also laughed. When it comes to mentality, Chulan, you, and Hualin Fei really can't compare. Hearing Su Si's words, Zhang Chulan touched the back of his head and laughed dryly. I'm not as bold as Hualin Fei. I don't want to be beaten like this. In the light curtain, in order to stop Feng Yao from accidentally killing his sister, Ah Fei rushed to the 5th parallel universe. He wanted to stop Feng Ying from going to the altar, but was knocked off the cliff by Feng Ying as expected. When he got up, he fought against Feng Yao again to save Feng Ying. Naturally, he was thrown off the cliff without any suspense. Fortunately, the little fat man turned time and space to save the situation. The sky cleared up and the rain stopped, and Ah Fei felt that he could do it again. Ha ha ha! Seeing Hualin Fei stand up again with the help of the little fat boy's twisted time and space, there was no trace of worry on his face. He just raised his head and laughed disdainfully. I want to see. Is your time going backwards faster, or is my time going backwards faster? The next second, he took a fighting stance, and with a swish, he turned into a shadow and rushed towards Hualin. The two of them immediately fought. Clang, clang, clang. The two men's super beast weapons collided with each other, sparking flames. The fat boy next to him saw this scene and exclaimed, "What a fast punch! What a powerful force." However, he had just finished speaking when Hualin Fei could no longer hold on and was kicked off the cliff again by Feng Yao. Hualin Fei's scream echoed under the cliff. Seeing this scene, Xiao Pangdun quickly used the time and space reversal again to rescue Hualin Fei. Get out of the way of that kick, the little fat boy reminded. No problem, Hualin Fei shouted. However, this time, he only managed to hold out for a few more rounds before being kicked off the cliff by Feng Yao again. The little fat man was speechless. Hit again, he could only use the time-space reversal again to return the situation to before Hualin Fei and Feng Yao started fighting. However, even if he tried again, the ending was still the same. He still couldn't beat Feng Yao and was knocked off the cliff by a punch. After several failures, Miao Qiaojun finally realized that Hualin Fei was no match for Feng Yao. This was a gap in hard power that could not be made up no matter how many times he tried. So, this time he started a great reversal of time and space and escaped with Hualin Fei. Are you sure, even if time and space are reversed, you still can't beat him? Atiran never expected that Hualin Fei would be beaten like this. Even though he tried several times, he could only hold out for 1 or 2 moves each time before being knocked off the cliff by Feng Yao again. Well, this may be because the difference in strength is really too big. Kaolu explained. It's like asking your Gargo to fight Ray. No matter how many times you do it, he will still not be Ray's opponent. This kind of strength gap can no longer be made up by the number of times. That's true, but why did you use my guard and Ray as examples? No way. Is Feng Yao so strong? At this moment, Hualin Fei was dumbfounded. Feng Yao's strength was too outrageous. It was really as easy as breathing to torture him. Hualin Fei held his head, feeling devastated. Do you have to hit me so hard? It turns out that none of my enemies are weaker than me. He was a little self-absorbed now. He even doubted whether Guangmu had said something wrong at the beginning. Didn't they say that he was the most talented in the whole play? Then why was he beaten into such a mess? Huolin Fei has no face at all. See? If it weren't for my time-space reversal, you would have been killed by Feng Yao long ago. Miao Qiaojuan straightened his body, thinking that he had done a great deed. In the end, the little fat man had to take the two of them back to the underworld. At this time, the White Tiger tribe also attacked the underworld under the instigation of Gigu. Facing the attack of the Snow Queen's army, the Lion King borrowed a Fei's supernatural lock to fight. When it comes to the fight for the Xianming Key in the next 64 episodes, the protagonists, without their power locks, are beaten up by Feng Yao. In the same episode, at 11 minutes, in order to prevent Gigu from entering the palace of the underworld, you see, teammates should lie down neatly. After Gigu's Snow Queen was sucked into the Xianming black hole, they fell into decadence one by one. Are we going back 100,000 years just to become warriors of the underworld? Basically, everyone was in self-doubt. Fortunately, the little fat boy conveyed Xian Yixi's thoughts and helped them regain their faith. After returning 100,000 years later, the final showdown begins. After winning, losing, and finally winning again, he won. At this point, Ah Fei also ended his life of being beaten. Then, the video starts to fade. Miyako frowned, a little bit unbelieving. This is the end, isn't it? Although I understand why Huolin Fei was the person who was beaten the most times in the whole drama, doesn't it mean that Huolin Fei also has the strongest talent? How come I didn't see that? Miyako was very confused that it is really hard to tell what is so strong about Huolin Fei's talent. Throughout the whole video, Huolin Fei is either being beaten or on the way to be beaten. Not to mention winning. Even being evenly matched is rare, and he is almost always beaten. Especially Feng Yao, who is simply Huolin Fei's lifelong enemy. And he almost beat Huolin Fei to the point where he can't take care of himself. Priest Manu fiddled with his beard and said, "There should be a sequel. Don't worry." As he thought, the light screen soon lit up again. Switched to another video, a character that netizens ridiculed as the worst male protagonist in Chinese comics. But his rating was as high as 9.3. Everyone's comments about him are that when they watched him as a kid, they felt that this guy was too bad. Later, I found out that it took only 7 days to develop into this state. If it had been open for 2 more days, it might have really rubbed out the Phantom Nebula. Well known, Huolin Fei is the protagonist of Super Beast Armor. He has played an indispensable role from beginning to end. Every time he faces the enemy, he speaks the harshest words and receives the most vicious blows. Never lost an argument, never won a fight. A true prince of mouth cannon while forcing Wang Fei to get beaten for his bad mouth. It also brought us a lot of joy. If we observe this character's experience carefully, we will find out how great he is. It is not an exaggeration to say that a Fei is the most terrifying warrior with the greatest potential in the Super Beast world. He will definitely have a place among the future top powers. The other Super Beast warriors all come from various powerful races, and these races also have excellent combat capabilities. In comparison, Huolin Fei is just an ordinary earthling, a nobody in the universe. When I first got the power lock, I hadn't practiced seriously for long before I realized the fire cloud art. Naruto World. Boruto period call. Finally, it's all done. In the Hokage building, Naruto, who had finished dealing with the affairs, was also watching the video on the light screen. After watching this video, he finally understood why Huolin Fei was said to have the strongest talent. Although in the previous videos, Huolin Fei was basically always on the road to being beaten. But because of this, many people overlooked the most critical thing. That is time. At this time, he remembered that the story of the Super Beast Armor seemed to take place within the 7 days when the 7 universes were connected. This means that Huolin Fei was just an ordinary person 7 days ago, and in just 1 week he actually possessed such strength. Thinking about it carefully, it is really terrifying. Thinking back to when he was in the ninja school, he had studied the most basic 3-body technique for several years and had not learned it. If it weren't for teacher Irika's waterproofing, he would not have been able to graduate from the ninja school at all with his three-body technique at that time. In comparison, Huolin Fei only took 7 days to change from an ordinary person who knew nothing to a warrior who could fight with anyone. Naruto thought he cannot do this. 7 days? I really don't dare to think about it. Post views 30. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 068, Chapter 68. Snow Queen, put your hair up. Nobita's biohazard strikes again in the light curtain. When he got the power lock for the first time, he realized the fire cloud art before practicing seriously and defeated the Lion King's adjutant in one fell swoop. You know, the Silver Lion is a warrior who has fought with the Lion King for 100,000 years. Although not a very powerful warrior, he is definitely not weak either. And when the two were fighting, Silver Lion also activated the power lock controller, greatly increasing the power in his body in a short period of time. But even so, he was still killed by Huolin Fei, who was an ordinary high school student a few hours ago. As for why Huolin Fei is often beaten by various strongmen, all I can say is that time is running out. Don't you see who Huolin Fei's opponents are? They're all old monsters who have lived for 100,000 years. How old is Huolin Fei? Without the accumulation of time and systematic training, it is a bit like just sharpening the sword before the battle and improving strength in constant battle. Doraemon Universe. Demon World, that's right. Miyako didn't react until she heard the words in the video. It seems that it's not really Huolin Fei's fault that he was beaten up so often. It can only be said that his opponents are too strong. Feng Yao, Yin Shi, Long Ing, and so on. Which one of them is not a monster who has practiced for more than 100,000 years? Huolin Fei just got the power lock within 7 days of the connection of the 7 parallel universes. Compare with that group of people, Huolin Fei is just a newborn. I've been ignoring this. Miyako lowered her head slightly and suddenly felt a little embarrassed towards Huolin Fei. She had always thought that Huolin Fei was a rookie. Pastor Man Yu also nodded, and his attitude towards Huolin Fei suddenly changed. It only took less than 7 days, and you can actually fight with those 100,000-year-old monsters. From his point of view, this talent is indeed terrifying. It seems that I misunderstood him before. This, after being reminded by the person in the video, everyone in the victory team also reacted and gasped. Considering that there is so little time for training, and thinking back to the scene in the previous video where Huolin Fei was beaten up, everything has changed. It is really too scary that he can grow to the point where he can fight with anyone in just a few days. Lena was a little amazed. With this speed of progress, if Huolin Fei is given a few more days, he may really be able to defeat the Hades and the Snow Queen. Xinqing asked curiously, do you think if Huolin Fei is really given time to develop, can he beat Ultraman Tiga? Ultraman Tiga. Everyone was stunned when they heard what Xinqing said. It seems that the fighting power of this world is not comparable. I think so. I think the Beast world is quite powerful, especially the nebula of Pluto and Snow Queen. I think Tiga should be quite powerful. No, I think he is just average. Ultraman Tiga is stronger. Everyone started arguing. Seeing this, Iruma K coughed twice, and the noisy bass suddenly became quiet. Don't quarrel over these meaningless things. So what if he can win? So what if he can't win? Is it possible that Huolin Fei would really come to our world just to fight with Tiga? If he really comes to our world, you should first think about how to pull him into our victory team and fight against monsters together, instead of these messy things. Yes, in a light curtain, the more desperate the situation. The more you can see the strength of off-phase talent, even for Feng Yao, who is known as the god of war, how much supernatural power can he increase during a battle? Improve little by little? In comparison, the upgrade of the experienced baby Huolin Fei is the real cheat. His supernatural powers could be increased tenfold at any time. Even Xin Yixi's Yuan Kangmi was useless in front of him. He can break out by increasing his supernatural energy tenfold in the metaspace. Is this difficult for Huolin Fei? Every battle can achieve a surge in combat power. This proves that Huolin Fei's potential is far ahead of other Super Beast warriors. If he is given enough time, it is not impossible for him to surpass Hades. It can even be said that it is a foregone conclusion. By then, the 7 parallel universes will be unified. When the Phantom Nebula appears, the Snow Queen will have to put her hair up. If Huolin Fei really practiced for 100,000 years, he would probably be able to take Feng Yao's head off as soon as they met. At the end, Huolin Fei, who had only developed for 7 days, had undergone several energy fusions and was already on the same level as the Lion King Feng Yao. To sum up, on the first day, the ultimate move is unlocked. On the second day, the Super Beast is unlocked. On the third day, the Super Beast and God merge. On the fourth day, the energy fusion is increased tenfold and the old turtle's metaspace is rushed out. On the fifth day, the energy storm that hit the Hades and the Snow Queen was launched. On the sixth day, the team returned to 100,000 years ago and borrowed the Lion King's supernatural power to lock on the seventh day. He realized the idealistic belief and fought against the Ghost King after traveling 100,000 years. From this, we can continue to imagine what would happen if Huolin Fei was given a few more days. Day 8. Understanding the Phantom Nebula. Day 9. 3 kings on the 10th day. There is no need to resurrect Hades. I will surpass Hades. Day 11. Snow Queen, put your hair up for me. On the 12th day, unify the 7 parallel universes. And I seriously suspect that the reincarnation of the universe is to restrict Huolin Fei. This guy still has memories in the finale. Guess what will happen in the next reincarnation? Super Beast World, fuck. Huolin Fei was completely stunned. If it weren't for this video, he would have almost forgotten that he had only developed for a few days. After all, he had to fight one battle after another and had no time to think about this. Moreover, his improvement was completely forced. After all, if he didn't improve, he would not be able to be a match for those guys. At this look, Huolin Fei, you really are a genius. Miao Qiaojuan was also shocked, but he thought to himself that he had only practiced for 7 days, and he had already mastered the unique skill of time and space reversal. It seemed that his talent was also very strong. Fatty, you see, it actually says above that if I continue to practice, I will be able to cultivate a nebula body in 8 days. I think the nebula body is much more powerful than the Super Beast armed. If I really cultivate the nebula body, the name of the fantasy nebula seems to be quite good. Huolin Fei was immediately immersed in fantasy. At this moment, the light screen flashed again, and a picture was released. In the picture, Huolin Fei sat high on the throne with a cold and arrogant face. At the same time, a huge red shadow floated behind him, which looked like the Xianming Nebula of Pluto. And there were 3 women around Huolin Fei. If you look closely, you can still distinguish them. They are Snow Queen, Feng Ying, and Tianyu. The 3 of them were close to him, especially the Snow Queen, who was hugged by Huolin Fei with one hand, with a little girl's attitude on her face, completely without the queen temperament in the previous video. Alien world. What the hell? What the hell? Is this the future Huolin Fei? He looks even more pretentious than Hades. Zhang Chulin's eyes widened, and he kept saying, fuck. Oh my god. That person, it can't be me. Huolin Fei held his head, his face full of shock. Could this be his future self? He was so pretentious. At this moment, Long Jian and others were also dumbfounded. The one behind, that is the Phantom Nebula. It looks terrifyingly powerful. What? Is this Huolin Fei? Miao Qiaojuan was completely stunned. Suddenly, he noticed the figure in Huolin Fei's arms in the picture. He squinted his eyes immediately. Why did he feel more and more familiar the more he looked at it? Suddenly, he paused, and then blurted out subconsciously, fuck, look, isn't the person in Huolin Fei's arms the Snow Queen? Snow Queen. After hearing Miao Qiaojuan's words, everyone looked at it's true. With that white dress, golden hair, and holy temperament, she really is the Snow Queen. This must be fake. The Snow Queen would actually show such an expression. Why does she feel like a little wife? I can't believe my eyes. Tianyu also noticed herself in the picture, kneeling at Huolin Fei's feet, looking up at him with a dazed look. She couldn't help but blush and felt a little shy. Wait, who is that other black figure? Tai Lei touched his head. He recognized Tianyu and Xua Huang, but did not recognize the last girl in black uniform. Let me have a look. Miao Qiaojuan came closer and took a look. Isn't this Feng Yao's sister? Feng Ying? I didn't expect that Huolin Fei had also succeeded in seizing her. It must be because she was beaten up by Feng Yao before, so he snatched his sister away. Hey, fatty, am I that kind of person? Huolin Fei was speechless, but he couldn't calm down for a long time. He could actually have a harem in the future, and the Snow Queen was actually part of his harem. It was a little too fantastical. Meanwhile, the Snow Queen looked at the picture that suddenly appeared. Her eyes widened. Impossible. How could I possibly show such an attitude? Feng Yao, who was standing by, was also stunned. He could not have imagined that Huolin Fei was so awesome that he could even get the Snow Queen. Moreover, he also discovered that his sister was also on it, which made him feel a little upset. Oh, that's the Snow Queen. It's so interesting. I never thought that the Snow Queen would become like this one day. Pluto shook his head. He had been fighting with the Snow Queen for so long, but this was the first time he saw the Snow Queen like this. He was really surprised. He frowned quickly. He remembered that Huolin Fei seemed to have some interest in his daughter, Tianyu. Now the relationship between them was a little subtle. If the two of them really became together, and Xue Huang became Huolin Fei's woman, wouldn't it mean that he was also somewhat related to Xue Huang? Oh my god, it seems like Huolin Fei is really a talented guy. So, it's super evolution once a day. It's really too fierce. Xiaozhi exclaimed. If only his spirit could improve at the same speed as Huolin Fei. But it is obviously impossible. The speed of Huolin Fei's improvement is no different from cheating. Alien World. On Longhu Mountain, this Huolin Fei is really scary. The old Taoist priest picked up a cup of tea that was still emitting hot steam, took a sip, and said with emotion, as the battle ceiling of the alien world, his strength is indeed strong, but his strength is also accumulated bit by the old Taoist priests of previous generations. It is completely incomparable with Huolin Fei's rocket-like speed, Zhao's. The video has ended. Characters being cleared. Rewards are being cleared. Super Beast Armed World. Huolin Fei gets reward. Small space. A space that can be fully controlled by individual, but the space is small in size. The mass and time changes in the space can be freely controlled, but the mass change range is 10 times. That is, the mass can be increased or decreased by 10 times at most, and the time is the same. Seeing this reward, Huolin Fei's eyes lit up. He gave his video screen a big thumbs up. It was like sending a pillow when he was sleepy. With this small space, wouldn't he have 10 times more training time? And he could also train at an overload. The text on the screen did not end, but continued to appear. Next video. Nobita and Nobi's Resident Evil 2 is back. What will happen to Nobita and his friends next? Doraemon Universe, yay. It's the zombie world from last time. Fat Tiger raised his arms excitedly. He had always been looking forward to what they would experience in another parallel universe. Xiaofu avoided his eyes and was somewhat reluctant. To be honest, I don't really want to watch that. It's a bit too scary. He was afraid that he would be like Nobita, seeing his parents turn into zombies. He would probably be scared to the point of peeing his pants. His psychological endurance is not better than Nobita's. It can even be said that it is much worse than Nobita's. However, Nobita is still looking forward to it. He has figured it out now. Anyway, it is not their world, and it has nothing to do with their world, so he doesn't need to care so much. Post views 35. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 069, Chapter 69. What? Xingnai is dead. Magical AO world. Ah, why is it the zombie world again? Xiaomi said bitterly. He didn't want to watch this video at all. It was too scary, and the screen didn't even have a sensor. He didn't even dare to watch it, let alone this kind of person. The last time he saw this, he was almost scared to pee his pants on the spot. What's wrong, Xiaomi? Are you scared? Seeing Xiaomi's bitter expression, Ding Dong immediately looked over and looked at Xiaomi with a smile, a hint of sarcasm in his expression. Who is scared? He couldn't admit this. After all, he still had to save face. Tao Su asked curiously. Ding Dong, Aren't you scared at all? Ding Dong shook his head and smiled confidently. Of course, don't forget that I have a private cinema at home, and I have seen countless horror movies. Wow, you are amazing. Tao Su immediately praised. No, no, Ding Dong waved his hands, but he couldn't stop smiling. However, he was quickly exposed by Ao, who said, but I clearly saw you shaking your legs while watching the video. Well, Ding Dong was stunned for a moment and had to explain, that is, because it's too cold. Oh. Everyone looked at the sun outside, which was 36 degrees, and fell into deep thought. Oh, here it comes. Let's see what kind of weird zombies Nobita will encounter this time. Bai Xiaofei looked at the light screen expectantly. He actually wanted to see if Nobita would encounter a self-aware zombie later. After all, there are a lot of self-aware zombies in their world. Once the zombies are born with self-awareness, their terrifying index will be completely qualitatively improved. The world of Resident Evil. It's Nobita and the others. Ida Wong's eyes lit up. She was very curious about the zombie apocalypse where Nobita and the others were. The most important thing is the more she watched, the more similar their two worlds seemed to be. So she wondered if there was some kind of relationship between their two worlds. In order to deal with Umbrella Corporation, Nobita and others took their own actions. As Anxiong's health deteriorated, Deki, Doraemon, Shizuka, and Sunio sent him to the hospital for surveillance. Nobita, Sanai, and Fat Tiger went to the Umbrella branch to gather intelligence. After Nobita and his friends arrived at R, they found that a zombie virus had also broken out there. The streets were full of zombies, creating a doomsday scene. Although the police set up a defense line, they were still completely defeated. Nobita also got separated from Fat Tiger Shingnai and fled to an abandoned warehouse. See your world, Who is this Anxiong? A Tai scratched his iron head. He always felt that this name was particularly familiar, but he couldn't remember it. Hearing this, Xiaozhi glanced at Atieta speechlessly and couldn't help complaining. Are you a quantum video watcher? You forgot it so easily. Atieta touched his head. I only pay attention to Mr. Nobita, so I don't remember so many names. Kalulu explained. Anxiong is the guy who robbed Nobita's chameleon head with a grenade. Oh, it turned out to be him. I remember that Mr. Nobita seemed quite angry. After being reminded by Karalu, Tieta finally remembered that he was a little angry at the time. The picture on the screen continued to play. There are many survivors in the warehouse. Call. Nobita felt relieved when he saw so many living people around him. He said, it seems that things are getting a little more stable now, but everyone's mentality is on the verge of collapse. After all, the zombie apocalypse came too suddenly and there was no preparation at all. The peaceful days of the past have completely disappeared, and every day we have to think about how to survive. This is unacceptable to most people. After all, not everyone has the adaptability of Nobita. Most people have no means of livelihood in the apocalypse and can only become food for zombies. But Nobita actually met a fan of Shingnai here, which surprised Nobita. He didn't expect Shingnai's reputation to be so wide. Seeing Nobita's agility, the policeman next to him wanted Nobita to go outside to check the situation and gave Nobita a pistol. Oh my god, another pistol. Now it's safe again, Zhang Chulan said. The pistol is a natural weapon for Nobita. In the last video, Nobita was holding a pistol and fought all the way to the end. It's outrageous. There is no way to wait here any longer. We must find Shingnai and Fat Tiger as soon as possible. So, Nobita did not refuse, and after taking the pistol, he went out to explore. After the adventure in the first part, Nobita's mentality has also changed. Having seen zombies before, Nobita is not as scared of them as ordinary people. After exploring outside, Nobita found Sanai, who was attacked by zombies in a tavern. Don't come over here. As soon as he stepped into the tavern, Nobita heard a familiar shout. It was Shingnai. Bang, 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 bang. Shingnai fired frantically, but the zombies remained strong, not even slowing down their pace, and pressed forward towards Shingnai step by step. Just when the zombie was about to succeed, Nobita shot the zombie from behind and sent him away. Shingnai, are you okay? After getting rid of the zombies, Nobita said with concern, Nobi coined up well, barely, but it's great that you're okay. Xingnai was still a little shocked, but he still forced a smile, not wanting to make Nobita worry too much. Encountering this kind of thing again, Xingnai felt a little uneasy and needed to rest. He asked Nobita to go ahead and explore the way, and he would follow. Nobita continued to explore, and he met a policeman who had fallen to the ground. He told him that a colleague had been stimulated. The sniper at the end of the road does not distinguish between friend and foe, so Nobita should be careful. Zombie world, well, it seems that Nobita has become calmer. Bai Xiaofei looked at Nobita in the picture and felt that Nobita's character had become better. Even he was about to surpass him. Bai Xiaofei sighed. It's better not to compare with those wall hangers. I, Bai Xiaofei, am just an ordinary person. Obviously, at this moment, he has not realized that he will become a wall hanger in his mouth in the future. In a light curtain, keep going forward, the police at the end shoots the half-headed zombie to the ground. Nobita was shocked at this time. The road behind him was also blocked by the fire, so he could only move forward. With his skillful movement and the surrounding cover, Nobita approached the sniper step by step. Just when Nobita was about to walk in front of the police, roar! With a roar, the police were attacked by the zombies behind them. Arriving at the nearby police station, Xingnai also caught up, and Nobita invited Xingnai to form a team. But Xingnai said in a panic that he saw a mutated three-headed dog. Oh, before he could finish his words, a three-headed dog jumped out from the side. Monster! Xingnai was stunned for a moment and immediately recognized that this was the three-headed dog she saw. Resident Evil World, three-headed dog? Another new kind of zombie. Leon frowned, but when he thought of Nobita's strength, his brows relaxed again. Since Nobita could deal with the tyrant, then this three-headed dog should be no problem. This three-headed dog was not as scary as the tyrant he had encountered before. However, Leon had to admit that the more he watched, the more he felt that Nobita was ridiculously strong. As a Special Forces soldier who had undergone long-term training, in his opinion, he was no match for a child who had no previous training experience. If it weren't for the video evidence, he would never believe it. A kid who didn't even graduate from elementary school actually has such amazing shooting skills. It's no exaggeration to describe him as a monster. He looked at the video again. Xingnai quickly raised his gun and shot, but the three-headed dog was agile and easily dodged the bullet. Seeing this scene, Xingnai was stunned, and a look of horror appeared on her pretty face. You must be kidding. How can you dodge the bullet? Next, the three-headed dog rushed forward and knocked down Saint Nai. Seeing Xingnai being beaten, Nobita was furious and could not bear it any longer. He raised his gun with all his strength, drove away the three-headed dog, and quickly turned back to check on Xingnai's injuries. Xingnai was covered in blood, with his mouth slightly open, and he had fallen to the ground. I didn't expect that Nobita's team would lose a member at the beginning. Doraemon universe. Nobita's home. How could this happen? Daxiong and the others were all stunned. They couldn't believe it. Xingnai actually fell in this place. After all, in the first part, Xingnai accompanied them all the way, and they could be said to be comrades in arms who had shared life and death. As a result, in the second part, Xingnai was bitten to death by a three-headed dog. No! Nobita held his head and yelled, regretting again. It's like this again. I still can't protect anything. The first time, he also failed to protect the schoolgirl who looked very similar to Xingnai. And the second time, he still failed to protect Xingnai. This made Nobita completely unacceptable in his heart. Nobita found that it was not realistic to watch this video from the perspective of a complete bystander. Nobita. Seeing Nobita crying with his face covered, Doraemon and the others were all worried. They opened their mouths, but hesitated, not knowing what to say. Huh? Are you kidding me? Little sister Xingnai died just like that. It was too careless, damn it. Why didn't Nobita protect Sister Sena? Sanji clenched his fists and even bit off the cigarette in his mouth. Who could have imagined that Sena, who was so successful in the first part and could even be said to be a female warrior, was actually bitten to death by a three-headed dog? Hey, Nami frowned. But it's not Nobita's fault. It's just that the three-headed dog was too fast and didn't give them any time to react. Zombie world, hey. Bai Xiaofei sighed deeply. He also felt that it was a pity that such an excellent girl like Shungnai died like this. But in the zombie apocalypse world, life is like grass. No, it is even cheaper than grass. As long as you're not careful, you will probably die at the hands of zombies. Bai Xiaofei shook his head. He must understand that Nobita was not feeling well. After all, Shungnai died in front of him. However, Nobita can only adapt to this cold-blooded world. Maybe tomorrow an accident will happen, and Fat Tiger, Sunio, Shizuka, Doraemon, or even Nobita himself may die tragically at the hands of zombies. Woo! Uncle, I don't want you to die. The little deer was so scared that he hugged Bai Xiaofei's thigh tightly and cried. Bai Xiaofei gently patted the little deer's back and comforted him. Uncle won't die. Isn't he here? Don't worry. Uncle will accompany you to find your mother. Post views. 41. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 0, 70 Chapter 70. Shungnai is not dead yet. Nobita is so lucky. In a light curtain, but now there is no time to be sad. We need to search for more supplies. And contact other partners and explore the police station. The three-headed dog attacks again. But he was still beaten away by Nobita after collecting the supplies. Nobita prepared to return to the abandoned warehouse. But as soon as he went out, Nobita was stunned. St. Nigon, it was discovered that Shungnai's body had disappeared, and Nobita guessed that Shungnai might have turned into a zombie. Nobita regrets that he failed to save Shungnai at that time. But now he has to return to the abandoned warehouse as soon as possible. Back at the warehouse, the body of the loyal fan who cosplayed as Shungnai was lying at the door, and all the survivors in the warehouse had turned into zombies. It seems that we can't stay in the warehouse any longer. Nobita walked through an underground parking lot and came to a hotel. There was a fire everywhere. Suddenly, a man dressed in military uniform appeared and told Nobita that he was a member of the disaster relief team. Named Zoming Luzwa, however, due to the zombies' overwhelming strength, he got separated from his team members and was about to go to a nearby station, asking Nobita to go with him. A wolf! Just as he finished speaking, a roar sounded, and the three-headed dog actually entered the hotel. Doraemon Universe. Nobita's home. Nobita was about to collapse. Why does this three-headed dog follow me wherever I go? Does he have to eat me? But I think he can't beat 983 either. Nobita was a little confused. Doraemon guessed. Maybe it's because he remembered your smell. After all, although he became a zombie, he was a dog before. A dog's sense of smell is very sensitive. Not to mention that this guy has 3 heads and 3 noses, so he keeps chasing Nobita. Damn, three-headed dog. Fat Tiger gritted his teeth and clenched his hands tightly. He bit Shungnai to death, but he can still jump around like this. Nobita. You must kill him for me. Nobita nodded. Of course, but this guy is still running. His speed is really fast. The picture on the screen continued to play. Nobita was shocked. Such a narrow place is not conducive to fighting. The two decided to hide in the room. The three-headed dog walks forward with a confident stride, but suddenly there was an explosion inside the door next to it, which made the three-headed dog stupid, and then it fled in panic. Fortunately, it was a false alarm, but Zhuoming turned around and said that he would continue to look for survivors and asked Nobita to go to the North Station alone. I understand. Nobita didn't say much, just nodded. What a strong kid. Be careful. After saying that, he turned and left no choice. Nobita followed the instructions and came to the station, where he met 2 other members of the rescue team, Dang Ai and Langbo too. Sailor World, what a weird name. Xiaozhi scratched his worn-out head and couldn't help complaining. Is there really someone in the world who would give such a strange name? Calula held her chin with her hand and guessed, I think it's just a code name. Well, whether it's a real name or a code name, it doesn't matter. Let's continue watching the video. Atai frowned and asked Xiaozhi and Ka Lulu to be quiet and not disturb him. As for the name, he didn't care at all. Nobita told the two that Zhuoming was still alive, and the two also told Nobita that they were the only surviving team. But the communication equipment is not working. The only thing we can rely on now is this train, but This train seemed to be abandoned, with many parts missing, but the two could not just leave here, so they could only wait for Zhou Ming to come back and discuss the battle plan. Let Nobita go to rest first, but Nobita finds a very familiar figure lying on the train seat. Saint Seinai. How come he is here? Nobita felt a little dizzy. After all, he thought Shinai had already turned into a zombie, and he blamed himself for a long time. But now it seems that this is not the case. Oh, seeing Nobita's expression, Langbo too came over and said, "Is this someone you know?" Tai Ying, I explained to Nobita. After Lord Luzwa found her on the road, he has been protecting her. I am really surprised that she can still walk unsteadily after such serious injuries. 22nd century call? Great. It turns out that Shungnai didn't turn into a zombie and is still alive. Dorame patted her chest and exhaled deeply. Yes. Sharpshooter nodded. A little smile appeared on his face. In this case, Grandpa shouldn't feel so guilty. Resident Evil World, oh my god. Alice shook her head, a little bit unbelievable. She had clearly seen the injuries on Shungnai's body before, which could not be more serious. If it were an ordinary person, he would definitely be dead. But Shungnai was still alive, which made Alice a little suspicious. Could this Shungnai have been injected with the T virus, like her? Great, Miss Shungna is still alive. Tanjiro wiped the sweat from his head, then smiled and said, Tanjiro, Sean, he also said, don't you think the zombies in this video are very similar to the ghosts in our world? They all eat people and they all look ugly. There's a little similarity, but the infection of zombies seems to be very strong, which is completely incomparable to ghosts. It's just that zombies don't seem to have much self-awareness. The novel was taken from the Rala's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Tanjiro nodded slightly, thinking that what Zenitsu said made some sense. You say, is there also a zombie king like Muzan in Nobita's world? Really? I'm not sure. After Zhou Ming found out, he has been protecting her until here. Once you escape, send them to the nearest hospital for treatment. After hearing this, Nobita breathed a sigh of relief. So that's how it is. That's great. Can survive, knowing that Shingnai is still alive. Nobita ignites hope and decides to go outside to find the parts needed for the train. Despite the Ing and Lang Bo's repeated dissuasion, Nobita still walked out and came to a gas station. He opened the fire shutter door and suddenly found that Zhou Ming was also here. When Zhou Ming was looking for survivors, the fire shutter door here malfunctioned, locking him in. Fortunately, Daxiong arrived in time. Zhou Ming asked Daxiong to go in and look for supplies, while he stood guard at the door. After Nobita found a bottle of motor oil inside, a large group of zombies approached outside, and there was no other exit nearby. Zhou Ming asked Daxiong to hide inside while he went out to deal with the zombies. Bang! 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 I only heard the sound of gunfire coming from outside, and after a while I heard Zhou Ming shouting, "Little devil, run away quickly. The fuel in the car is leaking. If it catches fire, there will be a huge explosion." Nobita ran fast and escaped from the area before the explosion occurred. Boom! There was a loud explosion, and the place exploded instantly. Zombie world, damn it. It's so exciting. Bai Xiaofei wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and felt that Nobita was almost amazing. He could survive so many life-threatening crises. If an ordinary person had experienced what Nobita did at the beginning, he probably wouldn't even be able to leave the school. No, maybe he couldn't even leave the house and was bitten to death by his mother. The gas station was in flames, but fortunately, all the train parts were found. Now you can go back and prepare to escape from this place back on the train. Zhou Ming also arrived safely, and Lang Bo successfully started the train. Just as several people were lamenting the horrible scene outside the window, a scream was heard from the rear carriage. Lord Luzwa? I'll go and take a look. Nobita went to check it out, but he didn't expect the three-headed dog to catch up with him on the train. Next, Nobita and Zhou Ming worked together to fight the three-headed dog, but they fought for a long time without any effect. The bullets are almost out. Zhou Ming pushed Nobita back to the previous carriage, closed the door, and jumped out of the window with the three-headed dog wrapped around him. Zhou died just like that. Seeing this, everyone in the heavens and the myriad worlds couldn't help but feel a little sorry for Zhou in their view. Zhou is a very dedicated soldier, and his courage is invaluable in this apocalyptic environment. How come? Mei Yangyang covered her mouth and looked at the screen in disbelief. She didn't expect that Zhou would sacrifice himself like this, and sacrificed himself for the people in the entire carriage. Hey, Slow Sheep sighed. He is indeed a hero, but I'm afraid that's what it's like in the end times. Every minute and every second is a race against death. It's a pity for this young man. The picture on the screen continued to play. But misfortunes never come singly. Tying tells Nobita that the brake system of this train is outdated. Before I could finish my words, the train derailed. The Ying and Lang Bo were ready to jump out of the car and escape, but because Sheng Nai was still in the car, Daxiong decided to tighten the brake lever unfortunately. The train could not distinguish between the accelerator and the brake, and mistook the accelerator for the brake, causing the train to overturn and crash into the clock tower in front. But fortunately, the protagonist's halo is possessed. Nobita and Xingna were just thrown out of the train, and they are not seriously injured this. Here it is. Nobita stood up unsteadily, looked around, and frowned immediately. Alien world. Seeing this, Zhang Chulan felt that his head was being rubbed hard on the ground. What do you mean by being thrown out of the train and not being hurt? You have to know that it was a high-speed train, and the huge impact of being thrown out is no joke. Even an alien would not be able to be safe and sound, but this Nobita actually looked fine, and he could even stand up. Oh my god, Nobita's 3.5 lives are too good. Is this really a blessing from God? Nothing happened to him. Susan pulled the corner of his mouth, and he also felt that it was a bit ridiculous. Not only is Nobita fine, even the seriously injured Xingnai is still alive. It's too outrageous. But Susi shook his head helplessly. Can't you tell the difference between the brake and the accelerator? I feel a little funny. Crayon Shinchan World. In the park, the 5 members of the Cacique Defense Force gathered together. Hey, this is a bit too exaggerated. Feng Jian was almost dumbfounded. It was the first time he saw someone who was thrown out of a train and was still fine. That's right. It's a bit exaggerated to not be able to distinguish between the brake and the accelerator. Shinchan nodded pretentiously. Feng Jian yelled, "That's not what I'm talking about. Hey, Xiaoxin, do you know which side is the brake and which side is the accelerator?" Zheng Nen looked at Xiaoxin with some curiosity. Xiaoxin raised his head, thought for a while, and then nodded. "My mother told me before that the side with chopsticks is the accelerator, and the side with the bowl is the brake." Feng Jian fiddled with his hair. "It's just that the left side is the brake and the right side is the accelerator. These are all common sense." Adai sniffed his nose and said stupidly, "But I think it's safer to jump out with Sheng Nai than to be thrown out by the train." Nini shook her head. "Neither is safe. I can only say that Nobita and Sheng Nai are lucky. If it were someone else, I'm afraid I wouldn't know where they flew to." Post views 39. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 071, Chapter 71. Xingnai and Daxiong's ambiguity. Everyone envies in the light curtain. Nobita carried Xingnai to a room in the clock tower to rest. I also met Big Eagle and Lang Bo here. Both of them are fine, but at this moment, Xingnai suddenly began scratching his throat and started to have a fever. Nobita realized that something was wrong, because this was a sign of his transformation into a zombie. In the Mermaid Kingdom, is Xingnai really going to become a zombie? Sophia widened her eyes, her pink lips slightly parted, a little bit unbelievable. She still quite likes this girl, Xingnai. Little Harry shook his head. I think she should have turned into a zombie when she was first injured. Otherwise, it would be unlikely for her to survive with just a human body. I just don't know what Nobita would do if Xingnai really turned into a zombie. In the light curtain, Lang Bo found a combat instruction sheet of a UBCS team in the bell tower. It says they are here to rescue Umbrella personnel. Bell when the bell rings, it means the mission is over or failed, and the helicopter will rush to the bell tower to bring back all the combatants. Although Nobita knew that all this was caused by Umbrella, the situation of Sanai was not optimistic. If he wanted to be rescued, he could only rely on this method. Not long, Nobita found the key in the clock tower and made the bell ring. Soon after, the helicopter arrived, but it was already full of people. When the driver was about to call the headquarters to send someone over, "Woo! Let me go, let me go." There were bursts of screams coming from the helicopter. Someone in the back mutated into a zombie and attacked the pilot. The helicopter lost control and crashed directly into Nobita and the others. Boom! The fire caused by the explosion separated Nobita from the others, and the hope that had been waited for so long was shattered again. I didn't say. Nobita's vitality is so strong. Xiaoqiang is not so resistant to killing. Zhang Chulan looked at Nobita, who was still safe and sound in the picture, and couldn't help but say, "What about train collision, helicopter collision, tyrant attack?" It seems that no matter how dangerous the situation is, Nobita can cut through the hands of the god of death and find a way to survive. Maybe this is the legendary child of destiny. Susi smiled and said. The video on the screen continued to play. At this time, the three-headed dog jumped out again. Looking at the three-headed dog that was still alive and kicking, Nobita frowned. Isn't it dead yet? This vitality is too strong. But at this moment, Nobita was extremely angry, and he was possessed by the god of war and beat the three-headed dog seriously. But the three-headed dog slipped away from Nobita again. No helicopters have come since then. Perhaps the rescue operation has been abandoned. How can that three-headed dog escape so easily? Xiaoyu frowned. From the time the three-headed dog appeared till now, she couldn't even count how many times it had escaped from Nobita. Every time it was beaten and seriously injured, but it was immortal and kept coming back. It doesn't seem like there is any way to go on like this. Chen Long shook his head. Nobita's weapon is still too poor. If it is equipped with new weapons, this three-headed dog would probably be killed with just one shot. Xiaoyu smacked her Li, Uncle Long. If you give the dragon talisman to Nobita, with Nobita's accuracy, I dare not even think about it. At this time, Dad came over from behind. Remember what Dad said? Use magic to defeat magic. But what do zombies have to do with magic, Dad? After a long time, several people took Xingnai back to the room to rest. Langbo told Nobita that if things continued like this, Xingnai would probably turn into a zombie in no time. At that time, we can only kill her before she mutates. But there's a hospital nearby, which may have some drugs to delay the onset of the virus. Because this is the last stronghold, and Ing and Lang both don't have much ammunition. They can only let Nobita go alone to look for it. In order to save Xingnai, that has made up his mind. Time is running out. We must go to the hospital immediately. There are all kinds of zombies here. Nobita actually found the virus antibody here. After receiving a series of instructions, Nobita made a vaccine for the T-virus according to the above method. By the way, I got some syringes. Now Xingnai is saved. Nobita hurried back, but when he arrived at the lobby on the first floor, he heard a ticking sound like a timer. But I can't care about that now. Saving Xingnai is the most important thing. Sayino, world tick-tick, Sai Xiaozi immediately thought. Oh no, there must be a bomb planted in the hospital. Kalulo also guessed, it is very likely, but the purpose of those guys is to eliminate the zombies in the hospital or to eliminate the antibodies. But it's really unexpected that a child can actually make a vaccine. Aren't there operating instructions? Sai Xiaozi touched his head. Kalula shook her head. Who told you that just having operating instructions is enough? You still have to understand them. Some guy can't even cook after I told him the operating instructions. Back at the clock tower, the three-headed dog came to the lounge again. Nobita suppressed the fire again, and after driving away the three-headed dog, he hurriedly gave the vaccine to the Ing to help Xingnai inject it. After the vaccine was injected, Xingnai's whole body began to twitch. The three people rushed forward to hold him down and injected him with a sedative. After a while, Xingnai woke up. Ooh, Nobi-kun, is that Nobi-kun? Xingnai opened her eyes dazedly, and then she saw Nobita standing beside her. Seeing that Xingnai was awake, Nobita was also very happy. It seemed that his efforts had paid off. Xingnai was moved and hugged Nobita, and the atmosphere suddenly became a little strange. Ahem, I'm going to go out and smoke a cigarette. I'll go with you too. Langbo and Ding also went out to smoke. Everyone finally put down their worries. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. Looking at Nobita and Shengna hugging each other tightly in the picture, Pineapple blowing snow said immediately, "What's wrong?" Cheng Liuxiang was very slow and didn't react. Pineapple blowing snow said speechlessly, "Needless to say, it's of course Nobita and Xingnai. As the saying goes, true friendship is tested in times of adversity. A boy who goes through life and death for you. Most girls will definitely be moved. So, I see the difference between Nobita and Xingnai." Cheng Liuxiang finally reacted. He scratched his head and said, "But I remember that Nobita likes Xingnai. Does that mean he wants both of them? Isn't this a bit unethical? And it's not allowed by law either." Ouch. Pineapple blowing snow held his forehead, thinking that Orange Liuxiang was really too stupid. Even more stupid than Lu Xiaohua. Are you stupid? It's the end of the world. What morals are we still talking about? The previous laws are simply not applicable in the end of the world. Otherwise, Nobita should have been sentenced to life imprisonment for what he did. Which law allows a child to run around the street with a gun? Hearing this, Cheng Liuxiang nodded. "What you said makes sense." Lu Xiaohua was no longer silent and said, "It's said that this is a parallel world. Maybe Nobita in this world likes Xingna a little more. After all, Shizuka doesn't seem to have any role at all. As for Seina, she has been through so many life and death situations with Nobita, so it is inevitable that she will have feelings for him. Seina is not bad compared to Shizuka. Anyway, the one who is happy in the end is Nobita. Damn it, a primary school student is already in love." Ito Makoto looked at the two people in the ambiguous scene and yelled with jealousy. Nobita hasn't even graduated from primary school yet, and he's with Shizuka, Seina, and Beth. There's no shortage of girls around him, and he's still struggling in high school, and he can't even find a girlfriend. He doesn't even dare to pursue Katsura Kotonoha, and he's a far cry for Nobita. There's no law, and primary school students can enjoy this. Ito Makoto roared in his heart. For a moment, he was actually looking forward to the zombie outbreak. If the end of the world really comes, maybe he can be like Nobita. Conan World, ha! This Nobita looks like me when I was young. So girls like him. In the Maori Detective Agency, Kagoro shouted as he poured wine into his mouth. Doraemon Universe. Nobita's home. Looking at the two people in love in the picture, Shizuka's face darkened and she felt a little uncomfortable. But when she thought that this was something in a parallel world, she felt a little better. At least in our world, Nobita should like me. Shizuka thought silently in her heart, "Sure, Nobita. I think that Shungnai is interested in you." Fat Tiger patted Nobita on the back and shouted in a rough voice, "Cough, cough, no. That's not the case." Nobita touched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. "Damn it, I didn't expect that Nobita is so popular with women. It's really enviable." Sunio shouted. Doraemon smiled gently. "Look at what Nobita did in the picture. He risked his life for Seina. Basically, no girl would refuse him." He looked at the picture on the screen again. In the early hours of the morning, the nearby hospital collapsed. It seems that the ticking sound Nobita heard before was most likely a time bomb. Perhaps Umbrella was trying to prevent information leaks. But the most important thing now is to escape from this place as soon as possible. The Ing has also planned an escape route along the river and asked Nobita to explore it. No, why do they always let Nobita go to explore? Have those people also discovered that Nobita is very tough? Kara couldn't help but say that she always felt that Nobita was the one who did the exploration. As a primary school student, Nobita was too tired. "Huh." The doctor smiled and said, "This also shows that they believe in Nobita's ability. After all, he is not an ordinary person to be able to defeat so many zombies. If it weren't for Nobita's example, I wouldn't have believed that a child could actually do these things." 30 minutes later, because Nobita had not returned yet, Shungnai was worried that something might happen, so he also started to act. The perspective turned to Shungnai. After passing through the sewers and coming to an administrator's cabin, Shungnai found a UBCS combat instruction. "And I also saw Nobita here." Shungnai, Nobita was slightly startled. Shungnai had just recovered and should be resting. Why did he come here? Nobi-kun. Shinai also didn't expect that Nobita would be here, and then he handed the combat instructions he had just found in Nobita. Look at this. R has been abandoned, and the staff are setting up a nuclear bomb at the nuclear power plant. The town will disappear from the world tomorrow morning. Nobita and Shinai were both shocked. They didn't expect those people to be so cruel. If the nuclear bomb was really detonated, not only the zombies, but also the survivors would be wiped out. It sounded a bit absurd, but Shinai still feels that those guys might really implement this plan. Nobita knew something was wrong, so he asked Shinai to meet up with the Great Eagle Langbo, while he went to the nuclear power plant to find out what was going on. As expected, Zhang Chulan saw the plot unfolding on the screen and quickly said, "The zombie movies I watched before were indeed true. Once those guys can't deal with the zombies, they will just throw nuclear bombs. Zombie movies really don't lie to me." Zhang Chulan sighed. Drop a nuclear bomb? That's really crazy. Susan felt it was ridiculous. Needless to say, the power of a nuclear bomb was powerful. Not to mention Nobita and the others. Even the old Taoist priest would probably die on the spot if he even touched it. After all, although the aliens were very strong, we had to admit that modern technology was stronger. Not to mention nuclear bombs, ordinary aliens would be slaughtered by tanks and planes. After all, although most aliens had many wonderful skills, they were still mortal. It was still unlikely that they could compare with the extremely lethal weapons of today. Su Si, however, touched his chin and said, "Speaking of which, is it really useful to drop a nuclear bomb? Do you think some zombies would not be killed by the nuclear bomb by chance, but would mutate into stronger monsters under the irradiation of nuclear radiation?" Zhang Chulan was stunned when he heard what Su Si said. He felt that it made some sense, and it was not impossible. The world of Crayon Shinchan Nani. Nuclear bomb, what a joke. Noera Hiroshi was stunned. If a nuclear bomb was dropped, the whole city would be completely destroyed. There might be other survivors in that city. This is too scary. Maya's face was full of worry. Are they planning to kill all the survivors? Fortunately, Nobita and his friends found out about this earlier. If they hadn't, they would have been dead. After all, no matter how strong Nobita's vitality is, it can't withstand a nuclear bomb. Post views, 47. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 072 Chapter 72. End of Wild 2, Noera Shinisuke, another kendo genius in the light curtain. When Nobita came to the suspension bridge, he suddenly felt a murderous aura coming from behind him. Next second, a hunter attacks from behind. Nobita jumped off the bridge without thinking. But he didn't expect that not only was nothing wrong with this jump, but he also took a shortcut. What is in front of me is actually a secret laboratory. This is ridiculous. Huolin Fei was stunned, holding his head tightly with both hands, not knowing what to say. Miao Qiaojuan also opened his mouth wide, his face full of horror. Oh my god, this Nobita's luck is so good. When the others heard this, they all nodded. It must be said that it really makes sense. Nobita's luck can no longer be described as good. It's like the protagonist in a martial arts novel who was forced to jump off a cliff, but not only did he not die, but he also found a peerless magic skill in a cave under the cliff. Well, how to say it felt so ridiculous and unreal. The next second, everyone looked at Huolin Fei. Miao Qiaojuan came over and said, "Huolin Fei, I remember you're also the protagonist. Why do I feel that your luck is not as good as Nobita's? The gap is a little bit big. That's it." Huolin Fei scratched his head. Was it his fault? If he had this luck, he wouldn't have been beaten up by that idiot Feng Yao. Nobita met the eagle inside. Taiying told Nobita that he had contacted the team and they would send a helicopter to rescue him. But Langbo turned into a zombie big eagle side. That guy was secretly doing something in the alley. I went up to say hello to him and found out that he was eating people. After all, Nobita and Deng were not in a good mood after being comrades with Langbo for a while. But although it is a pity, now all we can do is get to the helicopter pickup point as soon as possible and escape from this place. Nobita found some research materials about the three-headed dog in this laboratory. It turns out that researchers have been using various animal experiments to control viruses. Most animals could not bear the effects, But one female dog developed resistance and soon gave birth to a three-headed dog named Alan. Because of the virus, the three-headed dog has extremely strong ferocity. Although he has low intelligence, he has abnormal reflexes and motor skills. Once, a sick breeder opened the cage and tried to eat the three dogs, but was killed instead. From then on, the three-headed dog remembered the smell of living people and began to hunt crazily. Tokyo Gourmet World, the sick breeder? Does that mean the breeder has also become a zombie? Kaneki looked at the scene in the video and felt nauseous when he thought of that scene. Eating each other, it's really disgusting. Hearing this, Tuka glanced at Kaneki, her pretty face full of frost, and said coldly, "Disgusting? Then let me tell you that we can also eat each other." "What?" Jinmu was stunned, a little dazed. "How? Do you find it unacceptable? Cannibalism is not only common, but regular cannibalism can also improve strength. However, compared to the taste, it is still better than humans." Kaneki's face was full of black lines. It seems that he is still a novice. The video on the screen continues to play after collecting all kinds of evidence. Nobita hurriedly fled. Just when he was about to reach the rendezvous point, the three-headed dog attacked again. Nobita picked up the bear on the ground and fought against the three-headed dog. But the three-headed dog was not afraid of such a powerful weapon. After a tough fight, Nobita finally knocked the three-headed dog to the ground. Well, this time the three-headed dog didn't run away. It really fell down when Nobita dealt with the power supply equipment everywhere and was about to escape. The three-headed dog stood up again and limped towards Nobita. It would be best if biological weapons like this disappeared. Nobita stepped forward, took out his pistol, and fired a few more shots. And this time he completely defeated the three-headed dog. Doraemon Universe Call. Nobita took a deep breath and said, "This three-headed dog is really too difficult to deal with, but now it has finally been solved. There shouldn't be any danger now." Doraemon shook his head. "Don't relax. There may be zombies more terrifying than the three-headed dog." Arriving at the rendezvous point, Shangnai and Dang are waiting for Nobita here. Several people boarded a helicopter to escape. The day is about to dawn. This city is about to disappear from the world, and the lives of tens of thousands of people will turn to ashes in an instant. When Dang was sighing, he suddenly saw a man on the roof of a TV station. Nobita looked closely and found that it was Fat Tiger. Because of Fat Tiger's terrifying fighting power, there were also many zombie corpses around him. The helicopter quickly landed to pick up Fat Tiger, and the three-man team gathered again and decided to meet up with Doraemon first, and then officially launch an attack on Umbrella. Soon, the screen dimmed. Lines of text appeared on the screen. Very sad news. It was reported that a major accident occurred at the nuclear power plant and are in the early hours of this morning, resulting in the death of most people. The government is currently conducting a detailed investigation into the incident. According to government officials, it was an extremely tragic accident. After this accident, R was said to be completely destroyed. It is estimated that the number of casualties in that accident exceeded 40,000. At this point, the picture is completely bleak, and the story of Nobita Nobi in Resident Evil 2 has come to an end. In the sheep village, all the lambs smacked their lips in fear. How horrible! It was a city, and it was destroyed like this. Mai and Jiang clasped her hands tightly together, with pity in her beautiful eyes. Yes. Wan Yangyang, who was standing next to him, nodded and said, 40,000 people. This number is much greater than the number of lambs in the sheep village. It is horrible to think that they were all killed overnight. Damn it. Fiangyang clenched his fist, his face full of anger. That organization is so despicable. They can actually do such a thing. What a bastard. Xianjiang was also scared. They are actually doing experiments on animals. That world is really hard to imagine. Call. Fat Tiger patted his chest lightly, his forehead covered with sweat. It's so scary. If Nobita and the others hadn't found me, I would have been blown to death. Sunio frowned, with a rather unpleasant expression. Why are there basically only Nobita and Sena this time? Why are there no scenes of me? Yes, that's what I mean. The person who said this was Shizuka. It's okay. There will definitely be a third part, and we will definitely appear later. Doraemon doesn't care. It must be fake. Those kids are all supermen. Bai Xiaofei was numb. Not only Nobita and Xingnai, but even Fat Tiger was ridiculously strong. He actually solved so many zombies by himself, and he could hold on until Nobita and the others rescued him. It was exaggerated just to think about it. The video has ended. The final grand prize will be awarded at the end of the Resident Evil chapter. Next video, an absolute kendo genius, a magical yet eccentric 5-year-old boy. Noera Shinizuke. Doraemon universe, huh? There is no reward this time. Nobita pouted. He was looking forward to it, but this is the result. Oh, Nobita, Doraemon smiled and said, it is said that there will be a big prize when the Resident Evil series is completely finished. I believe this light curtain will not be too stingy. That's right. Nobita nodded. The previous rewards were also pretty good. Look, Nobita, the next video. After hearing Fat Tiger's voice, Nobita also looked up and saw the introduction information of the next video. A 5-year-old kendo genius. Another kendo genius, Nobita. I remember your second title is Sword Saint, right? How does it compare to Shinizuke? Shizuka sat down next to Nobita, her face full of curiosity. What? The Noera family all sat up suddenly from the tatami, their faces full of surprise. The next person to be reviewed, that it turned out to be this kid Shin-chan. This is a bit of a joke. Guangji couldn't believe it. His son could not only dance naked, but also chat with older sisters. Honey, look, it says here that our Shin-chan is a kendo genius. Meiya pointed at the light screen and said, I remember Mr. Musashi came to our house before and told us that Shin-chan has a kendo talent and wanted Shin-chan to practice kendo with him. He's really talented. Hiroshi was a little shocked. Shinizuke was his son, so why didn't he have a talent for kendo? On the other side, in the park, Shin-chan, Masami, Kazama, Adai, Nini, and other members of the Kasacave Defense Force were playing a realistic game of house. No, Nini was having a lot of fun, but soon, their attention was attracted by a new round of videos on the screen. When they saw the 5 big words Noera Shinizuke appear on it, they all exclaimed, Are you sure you're not kidding? No matter how you look at this guy, Shin-chan doesn't look like he has a kendo talent, right? Feng Jian was stunned and couldn't believe it at all. Call. Xiao Xian came close to Feng Jian and blew into his ear. Xiao Che, you are so silly. What's wrong with me having a talent for kendo? Woo woo. Feng Jian suddenly felt his body soften, and then he reacted and roared, Don't blow in my ears. Xiao Xian, you are so awesome. You are a kendo genius. Zheng Nan and the others all looked at Xiao Xian with admiration, and there were stars in their eyes. It's okay, Noera Shinizuke. Could it be that potato head kid? He is actually a kendo genius. In the teacher's office of Futaba Kindergarten, teacher Matsuzaka frowned immediately. When she thought of Shin-chan, she had a headache. He is really a troublemaker. Teacher Yoshinaga was also very surprised. Shin-chan, that guy does seem to be excellent in other aspects, but he is too naughty. In an extremely luxurious villa, it's Master Shin-chan. Master Xiaoxin is on the list. He is indeed the boy Xiaoai likes. Seeing this scene, Xiaoai's love in her eyes became even stronger. As expected, Xiaoai has a good eye. Zombie world, damn it. It's another kid. This time he's even more outrageous than Nobita. He's only 5 years old. Bai Xiaofei looked numb. Did he mess with the kids? Why are they all little brats? And apart from that big-headed son, why are the other kids so awesome? Nobi, Nobita, Yagami, Taichi. Now, there's another Noera Shinizuke, 5 years old. This guy should still be in kindergarten. He should be about the same age as the deer. Speaking of this, Bai Xiaofei looked at the deer playing with building blocks, wondering if the deer also had some talent. Chapter 73. Shin-chan's Path to the Swordsmanship. The tragic Kenta Musashi under the expectant gazes of several people. The light curtain began to play the day in the horse manure park. Just seeing this, some viewers couldn't hold back. What the hell? What does this horse manure park mean? Is it a name that is so funny? Pigman couldn't help but complain. This horse manure park sounds really weird. Hey, Big Bear. Bear 2 pointed at the screen. His silly face couldn't stop laughing. This name. It's really funny. Xiongda nodded and agreed. This name is even worse than Bald Kiang's. At this time, a young man wearing ragged clothes and looking a little sloppy was sitting on a bench in the park. Buzz! A fly kept hovering around the young man, making a buzzing sound. The young man held the chopsticks in his hand, motionless, as if looking for an opportunity. Swish. Suddenly, the young man opened his eyes and grabbed the fly with his chopsticks. But the young man was furious and continued to attack. But no matter how many times he tried, the fly still slipped safely from his hand. Call! The young man was panting and somewhat frustrated. After decades of practicing kendo, Kina Musashi, had become the head of a kendo gym, but my practice is still not enough. Crayon Shinchan World, beautiful. Is this the Mr. Musashi you mentioned? Why does he feel a little unreliable? Hiroshi looked at Missy beside him and asked. Missy nodded and wanted to defend Musashi Kenta. Well, this you can't even tell what a fly is, but Mr. Musashi is the director of a kendo gym. That's true. Hiroshi nodded, but still felt that this Musashi sword was a bit too weird. Oh, it's the master. Xiaozhi saw Yi Jiantai in the picture and immediately said, Master. The little ones around were all stunned and looked at Xiaozhi. Xiaoxin, is this your master? Yes, I'm learning kendo from my master, Xiaozhi explained. Zhengnan was a little envious. Kendo? It sounds cool, I want to learn it too. However, Xiaozhi hit him back bluntly. No. Kendo is very dangerous. You can't learn it, but I can take you to the master gym to experience it some other time. Back to the light curtain. Really, you're so noisy. Jiantai turned his head and found a little kid standing behind him. He was wearing a red top and yellow shorts. What do you think of his hair shape? A bit like a potato, noisy like my mother. Xiaozhi looked at the fly in the sky with displeasure, picked up 2 branches, and gently clamped the fly. Seeing this scene, Jiantai was dumbfounded, with a look of shock on his face. How could it be? He caught the fly in flight so easily. On the other side, Xiaoxin caught the fly, threatened it, and then let it go. Fruit Robo World, such reaction, such speed. This is the master. Chung Liuxiang immediately held his head and shouted, Don't worry. Pineapple blowing snow patted orange Liuxiang's back and said, It's just one time, and the possibility of luck cannot be ruled out. Please wait a moment, sir. Just when Xiaoxin was about to leave, Jiantai hurriedly called him. I just saw your move, and I would like to ask you if you practice this often. No, that was the first time I did that in my life. What? It's the first time I've done that. Jiantai was shocked again, and the frustration in his heart became even stronger. I have practiced for decades, but still couldn't do it, but he did it in one go. With many years of experience in kendo, Kenta could see that Shinchan definitely had unimaginable kendo talent hidden in him. After training, I will definitely be able to become a kendo master in the future. Kenta is a person who loves talents. After seeing the talent in Shinchan, he is determined to let Shinchan embark on the path of kendo. After some discussion, he explained to Xiaoxin what kendo is. The so-called kendo, it is a way to use a sword to train your body and mind and hone yourself. Kenta said a lot of things, and although what he said was so passionate, it was still difficult to impress Shinchan's free-spirited nature. Call! A snoring sound was heard, and Shinchan actually fell asleep on the bench next to him. Doraemon Universe, what's wrong with this Xiaoxin? Mr. Kenta spoke so passionately that I even wanted to learn kendo, and he can actually sleep. Fat Tiger couldn't understand it. Doraemon touched his head. It seems that this Shinchan is more naughty than Nobita. Shizuka smiled. Because Shinchan is younger than Nobita, he is only 5 years old, right? Hey, how am I naughty? Nobita shouted immediately, very unconvinced. Xiaoxian was awakened by Kenta. The first thing he did after waking up was to step back a few steps and ask shyly, What did you do to me? Although I don't look disheveled, Jiantai yelled, I 100% didn't do it. Really, what's wrong with this kid? Why is his head full of weird things? After calming down, Jiantai turned around and asked directly, Do you want to try to practice kendo? After hearing Kenta's words, Shinchan asked a soul-searching question. Can I become popular with older sisters by practicing kendo? Well, hearing this, Jiantai was speechless. After all, he had never had a girlfriend since he was a child, and he had never even held a girl's hand. I really don't have the confidence to return to Xiaoxin's question. So, he turned his head away. In the world of Kendo, there is no need for big sisters who knew that when Shinchan heard what Kina said, he lost interest and said decisively, "Then I won't practice anymore." Crayon Shinchan world. Futaba kindergarten. This really fits the character of this kid. Teacher, Matsusaka, stopped what he was doing and raised his eyebrows. Haha. Teacher Yoshinaga beside him smiled awkwardly. After all, Shinchan was her student. But I didn't expect that Xiaoxin actually has a talent for learning kendo. The headmaster was a little surprised. If you have talent, you'd better practice it. It can't be wasted. One Piece world, wow. Sanji's eyes lit up, and he immediately looked at Shinosuke in the picture with great interest. I didn't expect that this Shinchan is actually a fellow practitioner like me. Ha ha. Zoro stood aside with his hands clasped across his chest. That Musashi Kenta said it very well. There is no need for women in the world of kendo. Woman will only slow down the speed of drawing the sword. Nami looked at the two people speechlessly, spreading her hands. I didn't expect that Shinosuke is really a smart kid. He knows so much. I really want to see how their parents taught him. Luffy grinned. Haha, but I think Shinchan is very interesting. Goodbye, I'm going home. After saying that, Xiaoxin just staggered away without looking back. Looking at Xiao Xian's back, Jiantai was in doubt. Could it be that he had made a mistake? This kid didn't seem to have much talent for kendo. Suddenly, a baseball hit Xiaoxin. Before Kenta could remind him, Shinchan bent down and dodged the incoming baseball. This time, Jiantai was shocked again. How could there be such a neat dodge? Bang! The next second, the baseball hit him in the face. This made Kenta even more convinced that Xiaoxin was definitely a swordsmanship genius who was rare in 100 years. No, in 1,000 years. Seeing Xiaoxin leaving, Jiantai hurriedly chased after him. Brother, please stay. Xiao Xian turned around and found that Jiantai was chasing him. It must be because Kenta is so cute that he wants to follow me. Xiao Xian felt that Kenta was not a good person, so he didn't listen to him and ran away, etc. Suddenly, a bicycle passed by Xiaoxin, and the next second, in Kenta's eyes, Xiaoxin disappeared instantly. But after a closer look, Xiao Xian, I don't know when I got on the backseat of the bicycle. He also showed his bear, but danced to Kenta. Goodbye. Crayon Shinchan world, Shinchan that guy. When Maya saw Shinchan doing such a shameful thing outside again, she was immediately furious and even activated her Scion form. How many times have I told him not to take off his pants outside? When he gets home, I will teach him a lesson. Maya clenched her fists like an angry beast. Guangxi and Xiaokue beside her were trembling. Glacier, Kara was stunned when she saw Xiaoxin's behavior. What does this mean? Is this a normal behavior in that world? Kara couldn't help but think so, and felt that the world where Xiaoxin seemed a little bit abnormal. Jiantai hurriedly chased after him, shouting, "Wait a minute, listen to me first." The woman on the bicycle turned her head and found a sloppy guy chasing her, saying something strange. I absolutely cannot let your talent go to waste like this. I believe in your talent, and am deeply fascinated by it. The woman stopped her bike and gave Jiantai a big fight. What are you doing? Don't joke around. Jiantai was knocked to the ground, touching his red face, and looked at the woman tremblingly. You hit me. Why did you hit me? Hearing that Jiantai could actually ask her back, the woman became even more angry. You suddenly rushed out and said something about being obsessed with me. If you don't leave now, I'm going to call the police. After hearing this, Jiantai realized that this woman had misunderstood. After apologizing, I found that Xiaoxin had disappeared. Kenta hurriedly chased after him. He was thinking that he must meet Shinchan's parents and discuss with them to let Shinchan embark on the path of kendo. At last, Jiantai relied on his intuition to find Shinchan hiding behind the wall of someone else's house. Next, Xiaoxin and Jiantai started a chase. Jiantai wanted to stand up, but the clogs on his feet suddenly slipped, causing him to fall down with his legs spread apart, and his lower body collided violently with the wall. Jiantai screamed in pain, sweating all over his forehead. I forgot to use the sword. Let's exercise this part. Seeing this scene, All the male compatriots in the world couldn't help but gasp and also felt some pain in the lower part of their bodies. After all, this pain is terrible to think about. One Piece world, it hurts my heart. Sanji couldn't help but cover his mouth and felt his body chilled. He looked at Musashi Kenta in the picture with sympathy and mourned for him. I hope the function is still intact. Even Luffy's face showed a rare trace of pain. It's obviously not me who was injured, but I don't know why it hurts. Nami covered her mouth and smiled. It's a good thing that Musashi Kenta doesn't have a girlfriend. Otherwise, it would be terrible. I'm afraid that the couple will be in disharmony in the future. At last, he could only watch Xiaozhi slip away from his sight, shedding tears in pain. This time the confrontation, 2.1. Musashi Kenta is defeated. Doraemon Universe, Mr. Kenta, I feel really pitiful. Shizuka couldn't help but show a trace of pity in her eyes. The people around him nodded. Musashi Kenta's experience along the way was indeed a bit pitiful. First, he was slapped by a woman, and then his vital parts were severely injured. I have to say, this Shin-chan is really amazing. Whose child could be so agile? Dory couldn't help but say that although Shin-chan is indeed very naughty, the skills he showed were actually a little unexpected. But Jiantai did not give up. On this day, in another Park Jungnan, who looks like a rice ball head, is bullied by bad kids every day at this time. A strange-looking creature came over, and he was Kenta in disguise, in order to get close to Shin-chan. At this time, Xiaozhi took Xiaobai to the park for a walk and happened to see Jiantai disguised as a dog star. A drop of cold sweat appeared on Xiaozhi's forehead. However, Xiaozhi was not panicked at all. He just felt that this strange creature that looked like a dog, but also a little bit different, was a little familiar. Next second, Xiaozhi took out a little white feed from his pocket and threw it over. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 074, Chapter 74. Shinosuke's first step in swordsmanship. His future as a swordsman in the light curtain. Jiantai looked at the feed on the ground and was confused for a moment. If you don't eat it, you'll be exposed. All right, he still chose to pick up the feed on the ground and eat it. I didn't expect the biscuits eaten by the puppy to be quite delicious, Kenneth thought to himself while chewing. The magical AO world. This is a bit too unhygienic. Xiaomi was stunned. He just picked up the biscuit on the ground, and it was a dog biscuit, and he ate it. Yeah, you didn't even wipe it off? Ding Dong was also shocked. AO explained. Maybe he's afraid of being exposed. Amao touched his head and licked his lips. It looks delicious. I'm also curious about what the biscuits that the puppy eats taste like. After saying this, several people present looked at Amao with strange eyes. It seemed to say, your thoughts are very dangerous. Crayon Shin-chan world. Shin-chan is such a jerk. How could he buy puppy biscuits for Mr. Kenta? Maya said helplessly. Guangxi laughed dryly. This can't be blamed on Xiaozhi. After all, Mr. Kenta is wearing a doll costume, but this obviously doesn't look normal. Hey, why do I feel more and more that it is unreliable? Guangxi sighed and thought it would be better not to let Kenta be Shin-chan's master. Maya said, this shows that our Shin-chan's talent is really great. It is really difficult for Kenta to let Shin-chan embark on the path of kendo so hard. I think he looks quite happy eating. Guangxi complained. This operation made Xiaozhi firmly believe that the thing in front of him was definitely not an ordinary creature. At this moment, Xiaobai rushed forward and bit one of Jintai's feet. Xiaozhi wanted to pull Xiaobai back, but because of the huge bite force, the doll's clothes were directly shattered, revealing the hairy feet inside. In an instant, Xiaozhi was shocked and pointed at the exposed foot of Jiantai, saying tremblingly, that is a human foot, so. Did you just eat someone? After saying that, Xiaozhi turned around and ran away, leaving only Xiaobai behind. Seeing that Mr. Kenta was not a bad guy, Xiaobai brought Kenta to Nohara's house. Seeing Maya, who was also frightened by him, Kenta quickly took off the doll's headgear and revealed his identity to her. Seeing Kenta's look, Shin-chan suddenly recalled and immediately said, you are the weirdo from before. Impolite, Jiantai retorted. I'm not weird at all. I'm normal seer world. How can this person be considered normal? He is obviously very strange. Xiaozhi complained hastily. In his opinion, nothing that Musashi Kina did was normal. That's right. Which normal person would wander around the street wearing such a weird doll costume? Kalula nodded, supporting Xiaoxi's words. Atieda shook his head and clenched his fists. No, he is not a weirdo. I can see his determination. He really wants Xiaoxin to learn kendo. Damn, what a noble consciousness. He would rather do such a weird thing. Great. Mr. Jiantai is a good person. As Atieda spoke, he was moved. Hearing what Atieda said, Kalulu and Xiaoxi beside him turned green and stepped back. It felt like Atieda had become a weirdo, so it was better not to get close to him. Back to the light, curtain Maya brought Jiantai into her home and entertained him. And Jiantai also stated his purpose. What? Maya was shocked for a moment. You mean you want our Xiaoxin to learn kendo with you? That's right. This is why I came to your house. Immediately afterwards, Kina began to talk incessantly about his identity and dreams, and also mentioned that Shin-chan had an extremely strong talent in kendo. After being confused by Kina's words, although Missy found it hard to believe that her Shin-chan would be as good at kendo as Kina said, she was also somewhat tempted. Then I asked about tuition fees. Kenta glanced at Shinizuke and said, "If you trust me with your little brother Shinizuke, I won't charge you any tuition." "Ah, that's free." "Yes." Hearing Kina's words, Maya immediately became excited. Without any hesitation, she immediately agreed and asked Xiaoxin to learn kendo from Kenta. After all, for a housewife, the temptation of free stuff is simply irresistible. Mother, Xiaoxin looked at Maya in silence. Sure enough, this was how her mother was. She would never refuse something if she heard it was free. Yeah, that's it. Noera Shinizuke has since become Musashi Kenta's apprentice. Crayon Shinchan world, my mother is like this. As soon as I heard it was free, I didn't care about anything. Xiao Exen spread his hands and said with a helpless expression, "My mother is the same. She will be very happy as long as it is free." Zhongnan also said. Nini also nodded. "Yes, my mother is the same. It seems that all housewives in the world are like this. They can't walk when they hear it's free." At this time, Fengjian retorted, "My mother is not like this. Even if it is free, my mother will definitely ask me first before letting me sign up." Hearing Fengjian's words, everyone looked at him. Appeared. Good mother-style speech. Conan World. Dr. Agasa's home. Can I learn kendo for free? I'm so envious. I also want to learn kendo very much. Yuentao blurted out in a rough voice as he looked at the picture in the video. Hearing this, Mitsuhiko touched his chin, looked at Kenta in the picture a little suspiciously, and then said, "Free? It sounds very tempting, but no matter how I look at it, I feel that Mr. Kina doesn't seem very reliable." Ayumi was a little surprised. I saw that Mr. Kina's clothes were all tattered, and I thought he was very poor. He doesn't even charge tuition. He is so generous. Hearing Ayumi's words, Mitsuhiko knew that it was time for him to show off again, and the corners of his mouth curved slightly. You don't understand this. Excellent swordsmen have already gotten rid of the low-level material interests. I think Mr. Kenta is just honing his character. Mr. Kina must be a very powerful kendo master. Yuenta tapped his chin and looked at Mitsuhiko with some doubt. But didn't you just say that Mr. Kenta is unreliable? Mitsuhiko didn't know how to answer for a moment. Ayumi smiled and said, "Although kendo is good, I like karate more than kendo. Just like Xiaolan, it's super cool." Kendo, Conan raised his head slightly. His face still had the classic dead fish eyes. He had no interest in kendo, but preferred football. A few days later, Kenta came to visit and wanted to take Shin-chan to his gym to practice swordplay. Xiaoxin in the room heard Kina's voice and his face suddenly darkened. Now he has no interest in kendo at all. He was forced to practice kendo by his mother. It's too much trouble. Let's just run away. Xiao Xian did what he said and tried to escape through the back door, but Jiantai had anticipated it and hid in the bushes and grabbed Xiao Xian. On the way to the gym, Shin-chan asked again, "What's the point of practicing kendo?" Jiantai thought for a moment, then took out a leaf and a pair of chopsticks from his clothes. Next, he threw the leaves into the air, then swung his chopsticks to chop them down. A hit! The next second, the leaf split into two. So cool. Xiao Xian was stunned and couldn't help but applaud Kenta. But all this was just a trick played by Jiantai. He had anticipated this situation, so he used a knife to cut a scar yesterday. I didn't expect that Xiaoxin really took the bait. After this incident, Shinchan finally regained some motivation to practice kendo. Ouch, I fell. Seeing this scene, Guangxi fell directly to the ground. He quickly sat up from the ground, and he couldn't help complaining, "Isn't this just cheating, children?" Maya explained, "Don't worry about these small details. Besides, this is also to make Xiaoxin interested in kendo. It's free. Even if you don't learn anything, it's not a loss." "That's true." Guangxi said no more and continued to look at the light curtain. Soon, Kenta takes Shinchan to the dojo. The extreme sword dojo next to it is shining brightly, and it looks extraordinary at first glance. Too beautiful, too dazzling. Xiao Xian was so excited when he saw it. But the truth is obviously not that good. Jiantai hadn't finished his words yet, and he continued, "Just turn the corner of the dojo." Compared to the extreme sword dojo, Kenta's dojo looked very dilapidated and looked like it was about to close down. There's a plaque on the ceiling that reads Zabinryu Kendo Field, but it doesn't look impressive at all when paired with this room. Very shabby. Xiao Xian's fighting spirit was extinguished in an instant, don't worry. Jiantai saw Xiao Xian's expression and thought that he was scared. This place is not haunted. Because ghosts don't want to come, Xiao Xian ruthlessly complained. What is even more speechless is, the door of the Kendo dojo is still broken and needs to be kicked hard to open it normally. Seeing this scene, Xiaoxin lost interest even more. Seeing this scene, Pigsy opened his mouth wide in disbelief. He felt the same as Shinchan in the picture. This dojo, it's a bit too shabby. No wonder Shinchan said that no one wants to come here. To be honest, just seeing this dojo doesn't make me want to practice swordsmanship. What's more, there's another dojo next to it that looks so good. When compared, there is no comparison, no harm. Crayon Shinchan World. This dojo, is there really no problem? In the park, Feng Jian and others looked at the very old dojo in the picture, and their faces suddenly darkened. Xiaoxin laughed and said, "Although the master's dojo is indeed a bit shabby, but after practicing a few times, I feel inexplicably comfortable. While I think Mr. Kenta's swordsmanship is not that good." Feng Jian speculated, "If he is really good, there should be many people who want to become his disciples, and there must be more than just Xiaoxin as a student, just like the extreme sword dojo next door." Zheng Nan nodded. According to what Feng Jian said, the director of the extreme sword dojo should be very strong. Of course, otherwise there will be no money to decorate the dojo so well. After hearing what Feng Jian said, everyone nodded, thinking that Feng Jian's tree hole was reasonable. Xiao Xian, how is Mr. Kenta's swordsmanship? Nini looked at Xiao Xian and asked curiously. Xiao Xian raised his head and thought for a while, then shook his head. "I don't know. Master has never fought anyone in front of me." As soon as I stepped into the dojo, the wooden planks underneath creaked. Xiaoxin thought it was very interesting and started to have fun. But Kenta is a very easygoing person, not as strict as other gym owners, so he did not impose any restrictions on Shinchan's behavior in the gym. After putting on the worn-out kendo uniform, Kenta handed Shinchan his bamboo sword. He also seriously taught Shinchan that kendo is a martial art that begins with courtesy and ends with courtesy, and that one must not practice kendo just for the sake of fame. You need to have a humble and kind heart. Nuo Zhaohao. Kendo is indeed different from other teachers. Even when facing a weird kid like Xiaoxin, after seeing Xiaoxin's repeated tricks, Jiantai did not give up, but learned Xiaoxin's style. After unremitting efforts, Xiaoxin finally learned the normal sword-holding posture. Although today's training had some twists and turns, it was successfully completed. Crayon Shinchan World. Although the process was a little bit wrong, at least the result was good. Maya breathed a sigh of relief. At least Shinchan took the first step in learning kendo, which was good enough. He could already imagine the scene of Shinchan becoming a kendo master in the future. Guangxi nodded, and his opinion of Kenta changed. Perhaps we should use different methods to deal with guys like Shinchan. As Shinchan's father, He certainly knew what kind of kid Shin-chan was. It could be said that if you use ordinary methods to deal with this kid, it will not work at all. If you really have talent, maybe Xiaoxin can really become a world-famous kendo genius. Even he began to fantasize unconsciously. On this day, Maya brought Xiao Kuei to visit Xiao Xion's training in the dojo. On the way, Xiaoxin said, "It's very shabby." Maya thought Xiaoxin was just joking and immediately said with a smile, "How can you say such rude words?" But soon Maya couldn't say anything because they had already arrived at the entrance of the dojo. Looking at the dojo in front of her, which was like a ruin, Maya couldn't laugh anymore and subconsciously shouted, "Really? So shabby." Xiaoxin walked to the front of the dojo, took 2 steps back, and then kicked the wooden door hard. Seeing what Shin-chan did, Maya ran over and scolded him. "Shin-chan, why are you kicking randomly?" Post views 35. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are num chapter 075. I didn't even see Shinnosuk's famous scene in the light curtain. Maya thought that Xiaoxin did it on purpose, so she scolded him. Xiao Xian turned his head and glanced at his mother. Instead of explaining, he turned back and opened the wooden door. As soon as I opened the door, I heard Jian Tai's praise. "Great! The door opened so smoothly." He learned how to kick the wall in just one go. "What talent!" Jian Tai praised generously. That's right. Moving company." A bunch of strange words came out of Xiaoxin's mouth, but this is Xiaoxin's nature. The conversation between the two made Maya speechless, but now she understood that the door seemed to need to be opened in a special way. Sailor World. On the Earth, Saidashi was driving a tricycle and humming a little song. The tricycle behind him was filled with all kinds of strange garbage. When he saw Shinnosuke in the picture, he couldn't help but sighed. Sure enough, children are so cute. Then I remembered when Xiaozhi was still young. Although it seems that there is no big change. Well, after all, they are robots. They are not like humans. Conan World. Seeing the conversation between the master and the apprentice in the picture, Conan's mouth twitched. How can you tell that he has talent? It seems that this master and apprentice are a little bit abnormal. Conan secretly complained in his heart. He felt that Shinnosuke was too strange. He looked like a 5-year-old child, but also a little bit different. It was impossible to figure out what he would do next. It must be very tiring to raise such a child. Conan said that if he had children in the future, he would not let his children be like this Shinnosuke. In the light curtain after entering the dojo, Shinnosuke ran to change his clothes. Maya greeted Jiantai. "Hello. I came here specially to observe the teaching today. I won't disturb you." "Right? How could that be? Just enjoy your visit." Jiantai replied with a smile, but unexpectedly, Kenta was assimilated by Shin-chan so quickly and began to do nonsensical things with Shin-chan. In the picture, Kenta and Shin-chan are preparing to do warm-up exercises, but their warm-up exercises are really special. There's a crab smell under the crab's crotch. All kinds of strange lyrics came out of their mouths, causing Maya, who was still expecting, to fall to the ground. But although it was a bit strange, it had a good effect. After jumping down, Xiaoxin and Jiantai really felt a warm sensation in their bodies. What kind of warm-up exercise is this? Maya couldn't help but complain. Kenta did not feel embarrassed, but explained seriously. "This is something we composed together. I composed the music, and Mr. Shinnosuke wrote the lyrics." I could be even more speechless. This warm-up exercise is not over yet. There is still a second stage. In short, after a day of training, Maya was dumbfounded. However, he found that although the methods taught by Jiantai were indeed a little difficult to understand, they were still effective. Even Maya herself couldn't help but go on stage for some training. Ha ha ha! Looking at Xiaoxin and Jiantai on the screen, Zhang Chuan couldn't hold it in any longer and laughed out loud while protecting his stomach. No, these two guys are so funny. My stomach hurts because of laughing. I didn't know that swordsmanship can be practiced like this before. Susie took a puff of cigarette. It does look a little funny, but Chulan, don't underestimate this Musashi Kenta. His teaching is quite effective. My intuition tells me this guy is definitely a master. Susan on the side complained. When did you have intuition? One Piece World, asshole. Is this how you practice swordplay? Is this how you practice swordplay? Zoro was stunned. It was the first time he saw someone practicing swordplay like this. No, it couldn't even be called practicing swordplay. It might be more accurate to say it was playing with the sword. Upon hearing this, Sanji curled his lips. I think this method is good. Your previous method is outdated. Besides, aren't you a knife player? You can also use a sword. Zoro turned his head and glanced at Sanji. Do you understand that swords and swords have the same origin? Not only Zoro, most of the Kendo masters in the heavens and the worlds do not agree with Kina's teaching method. For them, practicing Kendo must maintain absolute respect. What kind of frivolous way is this? This Musashi Kina is simply an insult to Kendo. How can one be so casual in a Kendo arena? Well said, I totally disagree. That's not right at all. Musashi Kina has practiced Kendo for decades, but he doesn't know any rules. How can this be called Kendo? This is just playing. Returning to the light curtain in the following days, Xiaozhi brought the Saitama Red Scorpion team and his friends to the dojo to study. Day after day passed, and the days were spent in peaceful practice. But on this day, Xiaozhi ran into trouble on his way to the dojo. At this moment, Xiaozhi was walking towards the dojo while holding a sword and humming a song. But there were 3 children in front of them who were also wearing Kendo clothes and noticed Shin-chan walking towards them. The fat guy in the lead immediately wanted to play a trick on the kid. Look, that kid seems to be learning Kendo somewhere too. Haha. Only the appearance is still like a flat-headed man next to the fat boy snorted coldly and didn't take Xiaozhi seriously. Next second, the 3 of them blocked Xiaoxi's way and prevented him from passing. These 3 children looked older than Xiaozhi and were probably elementary school students. Get out of the way. The fat boy standing in the middle looked at Xiaozhi in front of him and shouted in a bad tone. Start. Xiaozhi replied calmly. Beginning dead, the little fat boy was completely led astray by Xiaozhi and subconsciously played a chain game with Xiaozhi. Doraemon Universe. Nobita's home. What's up with these guys? It clearly looked like a bullying scene. Why did they suddenly start playing a chain game? And it's just a chain, dead and beginning are obviously not the same thing. Nobita complained. He was just worried about whether Xiaozhi would be bullied. But the scene suddenly became humorous, haha. Doraemon chuckled. There's nothing we can do. Shin-chan is really good at setting the pace. He's a master of rhythm. He led those guys astray. But Shizuka frowned, looking worried. This will annoy them. Will Shin-chan be in danger? After all, there are 3 people on the other side, and they look much older than Shin-chan. If a fight really breaks out, she really can't think of how Shin-chan will win. These 3 little brats. Fat Tiger clenched his fists, not wanting to see their bullying behavior. They only dare to bully kindergarten children. If I run into them, I will definitely give them a beating. Crayon Shin-chan World, husband. Maya immediately looked at the screen worriedly. What do you think if Xiaozhi gets bullied? Those kids are bad kids at first glance. Guangxi was a little restless at this time. His son was about to be bullied in the picture. How could he, as a father, still have any face? However, he still held Maya's hand and comforted her. Don't worry, wife. I believe Xiaozhi will be fine. He has always been like this. Seer World, damn, how shameless. It's fine if you're bullying the weak, but you're actually bullying the few with the many. Ataida dispo. Ataida couldn't help but shout, looking down on the 3 guys in the picture. The little fat boy reacted and immediately yelled at Xiaozhi. I'm not playing word chain with you. Me too. I don't have time to play word chain games with you. Seeing that this little brat could actually say such a thing, the little fat man suddenly became even angrier. In that case, get out of the way quickly. Xiaozhi blinked his eyes. Why do you want me to move aside? Because you are blocking the road. We can't pass. Zero, please give me flowers. That's right, we can't pass. A companion beside him also echoed, hearing what they said. Xiaozhi spoke without thinking. Then if the 3 of you line up in a row, can't you go around it? Oh yes. Bang! A fist landed on the head of the companion who said this. But the fat boy didn't want to give way to a little brat. Stop talking nonsense. Just get out of my way. Xiaozhi looked embarrassed. But I can't hold it anymore. I'm about to pee. Hearing this, The three children became even more excited, wanting to see Xiaoxin embarrassed. I don't care about you. Just pee your pants if you can't hold it. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, there was a sound of liquid flowing down. The three of them couldn't laugh anymore because Shin-chan actually peed right in front of them. Ah! The three of them quickly stepped back, fearing that they would be splashed. What are you doing? Ah, it's so comfortable. Xiaoxian was very excited and ignored them. Crayon Shin-chan world. Futaba kindergarten, Xiaoxin actually did it. Ms. Matsusaka's eyes widened, his face full of surprise. Hey, isn't this the boy style? Teacher Yoshinaga held his forehead helplessly. .0. That's right. Mr. Matsusaka calmed down and felt that what Mr. Yoshinaga said made sense. Wasn't this kid always like this? Oh my god, this Shinasuke is simply a god. Huolin Fei opened his mouth wide and looked at the light screen in disbelief. He had never expected that Xiaoxin would actually be liberated right on the spot. Even though he was still a child, this is a bit too unrestrained. Tianyu covered his mouth and laughed. That Xiaoxin is really interesting. When I meet this kid, it seems that he is always the unlucky one. I was really shocked. He took off his pants at any time. Miao Qiaojuan wiped the sweat from his forehead. He was also shocked by Xiaoxin's behavior. Back to the light curtain, the little fat man looked at the water stains on his kendo uniform and felt terrible. This is a new kendo uniform I'm wearing. You sprayed it on me. You stinky boy. The three of them looked at Xiaoxian with ill intentions, their eyes filled with anger. But Xiaoxin's tricks are more than these. After finishing the bird, you have to shake it clean. Ah! The three of them wailed and quickly retreated again, fearing that they would suffer further harm. Damn it! They're playing tricks on us like this. Being teased by such a little brat, the little fat boy felt so ashamed that he shouted angrily, Hey, which dojo are you from? I'm from that dojo. Xiaoxian pointed casually and said, You little bastard, do you look down on me? How could that be? I won't even look at it. Xiaoxian shook his head and said something that deserved a beating. Doraemon universe. Mermaid Kingdom, haha. Hearing Xiaoxin's rebuttal, Sophia couldn't hold back at all and started laughing without caring about her image at all. Little Harry, what Shin-chan said is so funny. Sophia pointed at Shin-no-suk in the picture and said to little Harry beside her while laughing. At this time, little Harry was also completely dumbfounded by what Shin-chan said. Some are speechless. Damn, this Xiaoxin is too good at talking. Bald Qiang's pupils shrank suddenly. If it weren't for Noera Shinasuke, he wouldn't know how to talk like this. Look down on me? I won't even look at you. Good guy, this Xiaoxin looks quirky, but even the words he said are so confusing. If he was that little fat boy, he would probably be so angry at Shinasuke's words that his head would explode. Post views, 36. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 076. National Kendo Tournament, strong opponent. Yoyogi Kojiro in the light curtain, seeing this kid so arrogant, he even dared to mock him. What? The fat boy couldn't help it any longer, and immediately drew his sword and swung it at Xiaoxian. I won't let you go. But Xiaoxian just leaned to the side and easily avoided the attack. On the contrary, the little fat boy lost his balance and fell directly into the puddle on the ground. Woo wow wow. The next second, the little fat boy couldn't stand the humiliation and burst into tears. Senior, the two companions around him quickly helped the little fat boy up and left. Before leaving, he left a harsh word. You remember this? What? Xiaoxian touched his head, looking puzzled. What should I remember? It's so troublesome. You should remember your own affairs. Seeing this scene, everyone in the universe couldn't hold back any longer. They couldn't tell who was bullying whom. Sai Xiaoxi's pupils widened, his eyes full of horror. No, what's going on? It's too weird. Kaolu was also a little confused and still a little dazed. Didn't those three guys want to bully Xiaoxin in the beginning? Why do I feel like they're the ones being bullied? Atira snorted coldly, looking at the backs of the three children with disdain on his face. You bully them even though you have no ability. It's so funny. In my opinion, this guy deserves it. Digimon World 5 this. Who is bullying whom? Daimon, who couldn't stand bullying the weak, was very angry. But when he saw the fat boy in the picture, who was covered in water and crying loudly. Daimon was stunned. How could this happen? Didn't you want to bully others? Why did you cry first? Fujita Tashino covered her mouth and chuckled. This Shinchan is really interesting. It seems that no one can take advantage here. I thought he would be bullied at first. The world of Digimon in the first part hiss. What a scary kid. The vampire beast looked at Shinnosuke in the picture and couldn't help but gasp. Fortunately, this child was not chosen. Otherwise, it would be really difficult. After dealing with the 3 children, Xiaozhi didn't take it to heart, but came to Jian Taizong's dojo and started practicing. And at this moment, a middle-aged man in a kendo uniform came to the door of the dojo, followed by the 3 children who had wanted to bully Xiaozhi before. It seemed that he was there to support them. However, when he tried to open the wooden door, he found that he couldn't open it no matter how hard he tried. Strange, it can't be opened. Just kick the wall and it will open. Kenta's voice came. As expected, after meeting Kenta and Shinchan, the middle-aged man introduced himself. It turns out that he is the director of the Extreme Sword Dojo, and the purpose of his coming here this time is to stand up for his apprentice, who was bullied by Shinchan. My beloved disciple was covered in wounds by this little devil. Kenta bent down and looked at Xiaozhi. Did you do this? I didn't do that. Xiaozhi didn't. This guy clearly fell down by himself. So how could he be the one who did it? On the Ice River planet, no. This is too shameless. It was obviously those 3 little brats who wanted to bully people in the first place, and they actually have the nerve to ask for punishment. Kara immediately stood up for Xiaozhi, although the injury on the little fat boy's face was somewhat related to Xiaozhi. It's all my own fault. If I hadn't bothered Shinchan, there wouldn't be so many problems. Kara, I have something to tell you about this. Suddenly, the doctor clenched his fist and put it to his mouth. You are still too young. There are many shameless people in the world, and people like them are very common. Besides, the reason they dared to cause trouble for Shinchan was because Kenta Musashi's dojo looked a bit shabby and they didn't take it seriously at all. If Mr. Kenta's dojo was more magnificent than their Extreme Sword Dojo, they would just have to keep their tails between their legs. Oh, speaking of the Extreme Sword Dojo, I suddenly remembered, isn't it the new-looking dojo that Xiaozhi thought was Mr. Kenta's dojo at the beginning? Kara suddenly recalled. No wonder she felt that the name of the Extreme Sword Dojo sounded familiar. The picture on the screen continued to play after hearing what Xiaozhi said. Kenta looked at the curator and said, I said he didn't. The curator immediately said unconvincedly, You just believe what such a young child said? Hearing this, Jiantai also retorted, Didn't you just believe what a young child in your dojo said? For a moment, the curator was speechless. At this time, Xiaozhi told him about the troubles that the 3 kids had caused him. This made Jiantai very angry. After all, in his eyes, practicing swordsmanship is not to bully the weak. So, let my apprentice and your apprentice compete with each other. The headmaster was also very angry at Jiantai and made a fight directly. Suddenly, the atmosphere became tense. I understand, but we have to compete in this place. Jiantai nodded and took out a poster with a line of words written on it. National Kendo Tournament. Look, when Kenta took over the match, the gym director immediately revealed a smile of success. After all, in his opinion, how could such a shabby dojo produce good students? What's more, they have an ace player in their dojo, and this potato head kid has absolutely no chance of winning. I understand. If you lose, both the master and the apprentice will kneel down and apologize to us. Now is the time to practice kneeling down and apologizing until you are proficient in it. After leaving behind such a sarcastic remark, the extreme curator left with his apprentice. Crayon Shinchan World National Kendo Tournament. For a moment, Maya and Guangxi were stunned, with a look of shock on their faces. Honey, you see, Shinchan is actually going to participate in the National Kendo Tournament. That's great. Maya clasped her hands together and placed them in front of her chest. Her whole body was extremely excited. That was the National Kendo Tournament. It sounded very impressive. She really didn't expect that her Shinchan would be able to participate in such a high-level competition one day. It's very good. Guangxi had a worried look on his face. But can Shin-chan really beat the guy from the Extreme Sword Dojo? Very good. Suddenly I feel excited. Pineapple Blowing Snow shouted excitedly. The National Kendo University. This name sounds very impressive. It will definitely be exciting. Orange Liu Xiong touched his head. But you said, can Shin-chan really win? I feel like his swordsmanship is just mediocre. Don't worry. Liu Xiao was sniffed and said, I said at the beginning that Shinnosuk is a kendo genius. There is still some time before the competition starts. It's just that Shinnosuk still has no motivation to learn kendo. He needs something to motivate him. Now that I have decided to participate in the kendo tournament, I can no longer do whatever I want like before. From this day on, in order to quickly adapt to the needs of the competition, Kina asked Shin-chan to practice with protective gear. Shin-chan put it on properly, and the training gradually became more serious. Kina no longer joked with Shin-chan like he did before, but Shin-chan still didn't take the game seriously and still treated his kendo training like a game. After all, his nature is to do whatever he wants. If you want to make Shin-chan really motivated to fight, you need an opportunity. Kina was very disappointed by Xiaoxin's casual attitude. He wondered what it would take to get this 5-year-old kindergarten kid to take sword practice seriously. But soon the opportunity appeared. On this day, after finishing the day's kendo training, Shinnosuk happily walked on the way home. But the fat guy who was hurt by him before appeared again and blocked Xiaoxin's way. Wait a moment. Xiao Exine stopped and looked at the little fat boy carefully. I think I've seen you somewhere. Don't tell me you've forgotten me. Oh, I remember. You are. Xiao Exine looked up and thought for a moment, then pointed at the little fat boy and said, You tried to cause trouble for me on the road before, but ended up making yourself cry. Since then, you've lived a boring life. You're a supporting character without even a name. Hearing Xiaoxin's series of words, the little fat man immediately became angry. Stop talking nonsense. The world of others, damn it. After hearing Shinnosuk's long string of words, Zhang Chulan was stunned. I didn't expect that although Shinnosuk is only a 5-year-old child, he can speak so well. It's such a long string of words, but there isn't even a single repeated word. It's extremely insulting. He can say it better than me. Interesting, this kid is so interesting. Susi laughed so hard that he couldn't even smoke. Chulan, it seems that you are not good enough in this area. Learn more from brother Shinnosuk. It's so dull. It doesn't even have a name. Hiss. These words are really hurtful. Su-san shook his head. If it were him, he would not be able to bear it. Not to mention that the other party was just a child. Is this the legendary? You can't beat him. You can't talk him out soon. The other 2 people who had been seen before also appeared. But unlike last time, this time, there's one more person. Accompanied by somewhat oppressive back shadow music, a red boy in a reddish-brown kendo robe slowly walked towards the 3 people. Yoyogi, this is the guy. The little fat man turned his head and said quickly, as if the Yoyogi he was talking about was his boss. He is the arrogant kid in that crappy dojo I was talking about. This guy looks so stupid, but I didn't expect him to be so agile. As if afraid that Shin-chan didn't know Yoyogi, one of the guys quickly explained, Kid, this guy is the ace of the Extreme Ryukin Dojo's junior group. Yoyogi Kojiro-o. Yoyogi looked at Shinnosuk expressionlessly, and then the corners of his mouth slowly curled up. I will also participate in that kendo competition. Please give me more advice. Shinnosuk also answered seriously. My name is Noera Shinnosuk, and I am the only number 1 disciple of Master Musashi. Super Beast World hiss. This guy named Yoyogi is no ordinary person at first glance. Huolin Fei's eyes were immediately attracted by Yoyogi in the picture 333. Although Yoyogi is still young, he actually looks like a master. You can tell by looking at it. This Yoyogi comes with his own sound system, which is totally different from the other 3 extras. Miao Qiaojuan also said, Doraemon Universe. Yoyogi Yukihiro, this guy looks like he's really pretentious. Fat Tiger looked at Yoyogi's cold, pretentious face on the screen and suddenly got angry. Yes, Nobita nodded. This Yoyogi may be difficult to deal with. When he appeared just now, his momentum was really extraordinary. Doraemon also thought so he said, Nobita is right. This Yoyogi looks terrifyingly strong just by looking at his standing posture. The current Shinnosuke should not be a match for this man. What? Sunio scratched his head. He's just a kid, not even as old as us. How strong can he be? I'm afraid he can't even beat me. He didn't take it to heart. This Yoyogi looked like he was only in the 2nd or 3rd grade of elementary school. Nobita and the others were just thinking too much. Crayon Shin-chan world, what? How dare you say that our Shin-chan is stupid? Don't you even look at yourself? How dare you say that? Maya was feeding Xiao Kuei. When she heard what the child in the video said, she was immediately furious. How dare that little extra, who didn't even have a name, say that about his Shin-chan? This was really too much. Children nowadays, you really have no manners. Guangxi was also a little annoyed. The picture on the screen continued to play. Hearing Shin-chan's introduction, Yoyogi smiled and said, "So your name is Shinnosuke. Now that we know each other, would you like to practice with me?" Xiao Xian was stunned, looking reluctant. But I am seeing Xiaoxin like this. The fat boy next to him was frightened and turned pale and hurriedly stepped back. Are you on your way to the toilet again? Poor God. He is now completely frightened. The last experience has left him with an indelible shadow. However, this time, Shin-chan just wanted to go back and watch the TV series in a hurry. Yoyogi smiled softly and spoke again. It will be over soon. Let's go to the open space next to it to compete. Ouch. Shinnosuke also agreed. Then it can only be for a while. You really love to practice. At this time, Xiaoxin still didn't realize the seriousness of the matter. This next game will completely change his mind. 077. Kendo tournament opens. Shinnosuke and Yoyogi's growth the screen is playing on the open space. The breeze blows. Shinnosuke and Yoyogi face off with swords, but Xiao Xian blinked his eyes, but there was no fighting spirit in his eyes. He just wanted to finish the competition quickly so that he could go home. Yoyogi's eyes were calm, and he was not angry at Shin-chan's casual response. For him, the outcome of this duel was not suspenseful at all. Xiao Xian shouted casually, then rushed towards Yoyogi with his sword clang. A white light flashed, and the sword in Xiaoxin's hand was directly hit and flew into the air. Strangeness. Xiao Xian looked at his empty hands and hadn't realized what was happening yet. Next second, Yoyogi's bamboo sword appeared in front of him, but it was just a competition, so Yoyogi did not attack Shin-chan. Appeared. The little fat boy who was watching the game on the side suddenly shouted excitedly. Yoyogi's ultimate move, shaking the bamboo sword away. As expected of Yoyogi, the others also cheered like lackeys. Zombie world, damn it. This Yoyogi actually has strength. Bai Xiaofei rubbed his eyes. He didn't even see what happened to him just now. It was as if the picture just flashed, and Shinnosuke's bamboo sword flew out uncontrollably. Call. He wiped the cold sweat from his head. You really can't mess with kids nowadays. They are so powerful at such a young age. What will happen if such guys become zombies? Seeing this, Bai Xiaofei finally understood why some zombies are so strong. They must have been strong before they became zombies. What? What a fast speed. In the park, several little ones were stunned by Yoyogi's attack. Everyone stared at the screen closely, afraid of missing any details. So powerful. I didn't even see it clearly. Zhengnan opened his mouth in surprise. Nini nodded. That's right. Shin-chan didn't even take a single blow. It seems that Yoyogi's strength is far superior to Shin-chan. Feng Jian touched his chin. In a while, Shin-chan will actually have to compete with such a powerful guy in the kendo competition. It seems that your chances of winning are slim. It's not that he deliberately discouraged Xiaoxin. As a good friend of Xiaoxin, he certainly hoped that Xiaoxin could win. As it stands, the gap in strength between the two is really too big. I actually lost like this. Xiao Xian supported himself with his hands and looked at the ground. His face was no longer as casual as usual, and drops of cold sweat dripped from his head. Although he had a casual personality, it did not mean that he did not have a competitive spirit. Now it seemed that Yoyogi had defeated him so easily, and he felt bad inside. All right, Yoyogi still had a faint smile on his face. What are you going to do? If you continue like this, I will definitely defeat you. Xiao Xian blinked his eyes, as if his throat was locked, and he couldn't say a word. Suddenly, Xiaoxin opened his mouth and bit the bamboo sword, which surprised Yoyogi. He didn't know what this kid was doing. But I have to say that Shinchan's mouth is really powerful, and it made Yoyogi unable to pull out the bamboo sword for a while. Even the little follower who was watching the game nearby was stunned and said, "Yoyogi, please hit it once quickly and end this game. I really want to do this, but I can't pull out the bamboo sword." Yoyogi thought to himself at this time, but he would not say such embarrassing words out loud. This boy's lips have such amazing power. Yoyogi had no choice but to say, "Let's stop here today. Let's see who will win in the Kendo tournament." Hearing this, Xiao Xian also relaxed his mouth. "See you later." Leaving behind these words, Yoyogi and his group left. Call. Xiao Xian supported himself on the ground with both hands and took a long breath, feeling very upset. Next, he grasped the bamboo sword that fell beside him and ran away. But the direction he left was not home, but Kenta's dojo. "Teacher, Mr. Wu." Shinizuke anxiously returned to the dojo and shouted, "Master Musashi, please train me quickly, because I want to become stronger. I want to become stronger and defeat him." Obviously, after this duel with Yoyogi, Shinizuke's fighting spirit was completely ignited. He decided to train hard and defeat Yoyogi in the next Kendo competition. Although Kenta didn't know what happened, he was excited to see Shinchan showing such fighting spirit. "Because I want to become stronger." Zoro stood at the bow, looking at the endless sea, muttering what Xiaoxin had just said. "Ha ha ha ha." Suddenly, he grinned and laughed. "Very good. Noera, Shinizuke, you finally have the determination to practice swordsmanship. I believe you will become stronger." At the same time, behind him, Luffy, Nami, Sanji, Robin, and other crew members were whispering behind him. "Hey, what do you think happened to this guy?" I think he was just inspired by Shinizuke's fighting spirit in the picture. However, I always find it a bit strange to hear such words coming from his mouth. Yes, I got goosebumps when I heard it. Sauron couldn't bear it anymore, and turned around and shouted, "You guys, don't ruin the mood. I have worked so hard to build up." "Good. That's it. As long as you have the determination to become stronger, that's enough." Atiera raised his double blades and had to admit that he was also infected by Shinizuke's emotions. "Well, I can't fall behind. I will add 2 more hours to my training this year. I will get stronger, stronger, stronger." Although they both have good fighting spirit, I feel that the gap between them is still a bit too big, and Kendo is something that cannot be made up in a short time. Xiaozi scratched his head and said, "Although Xiaoxin has trained a few times, I feel that his strength has not improved much. He just knows the most basic things. Look at that Yoyogi, his temperament is. You can tell at first glance that he has been practicing swords since he was young." Hey, the novel was taken from the Rala's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Adhida said unhappily, "Don't say such unambitious things." Okay. Calula tapped her chin and analyzed rationally. But Shinchan may not have no chance of winning. It is said that Shinchan is a Kendo genius, so his improvement should be faster than that Yoyogi. Crayon Shinchan world, very good. Shinchan finally has the will to fight for Kendo. Maya was so moved that she almost cried. Yes. Guangxi clenched his fists and silently cheered for his son. Looking at it this way, it seems that this duel is not a bad thing. The video screen continued to play the next day. Xiaoxin went to the dojo early to train, contrary to his usual behavior. However, he was asked by Jinta to do odd jobs, which confused Xiaoxin very much. But since the master said so, there must be a reason for it. Then, Xiaoxin started working obediently without saying a word after finishing his chores. Xiao Xian confidently asked Kenta if he had become much stronger. The sword is too confusing. How can doing these things make your swordsmanship stronger? Xiaoxin is too eager to win now, and his utilitarianism is too strong. Kenta told Shinchan to start from the basics and put aside his special moves, which made Shinchan very angry. On the other side of the screen, the extreme sword dojo Yoyogi was practicing swordsmanship seriously. Unexpectedly, The director encouraged his disciples to break the rules in order to win the game. Not cacked, Yoyogi was very confident that he could easily defeat all his opponents even without committing fouls, except for that person. Only that person, there was only that guy. At that time, my bamboo sword was bitten by his mouth, and I couldn't move at all. It turned out that even his mouth had such powerful strength. Yoyogi's mind unconsciously recalled the duel with Shinchan that day, and his consciousness told him that Shinosuke would be an extremely difficult opponent. Bears in the world, asshole, that's so disgusting. What? He would even commit a foul just to win. How on earth does this guy teach his apprentice? Xiaozhi was very angry. How could such a guy without any morals teach his apprentice? And the dojo was so big. It was really ironic. In order to defeat Shinchan, Yoyogi trained even more intensely. At this moment, Xiaozhi is practicing by himself in the park. At this time, 3 hooligans who were obviously not good people came and wanted to teach this ignorant little brat a lesson. Jiantai, who happened to be buying groceries while passing by, saw this scene, and without saying a word, he taught this group of bullies a lesson. With his powerful swordsmanship, Jiantai easily defeated these thugs in just a few rounds. Seeing this scene, Xiaozhi was shocked. He didn't expect his master to be so powerful, and Jiantai also revealed the secret of his strength. That is to practice basic skills throughout life, in his opinion. Whether it's kendo or other things, basic skills are always the most important. This sentence gave Xiaozhi an epiphany. From this moment on, he decided to start practicing from the basics. And in order to compensate Jiantai for solving the problem, Xiaozhi also invited Jiantai to visit his home in the evening. Unfortunately, the drunk Kinta didn't notice that Shinchan could actually split the leaf in half with his chopsticks. At the same time, Yoyogi also practiced his own nirvana. Inside a swimming pool, the owner of the swimming pool looked at Yoyogi, who was wearing a diving suit and standing at the bottom of the swimming pool, and said with a puzzled look on his face, "I wonder why you come here to train every night." Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud noise, and the water in the swimming pool suddenly seemed to be split by a knife and began to tremble violently, like a tsunami, with amazing momentum. In an instant, the owner of the swimming pool and the boy next to him were frightened. Do you see this water? The water split in half. Under the water, Yoyogi smiled. My special move is really complete. This way, I can beat him. Doraemon Universe Nanny. Nobita and the others were all stunned, staring at the screen in a daze without moving. Gulu, I don't know who was swallowing his saliva. After a long while, Nobita was the first to come back to his senses. He was shocked and said, It's really too scary. Is it really possible to do this without any props and just by yourself?" "Yeah." Fat Tiger nodded stupidly. "You all saw it. The water was split in half directly. Isn't Yoyogi's strength a bit too scary?" Doraemon also sighed. It's just like the martial arts and martial arts novels. But Shinchan doesn't seem to be bad either. He can actually split the leaves with chopsticks. Shizuka hummed. I remember that even Mr. Kinna couldn't do this. It seems that Shinchan is really a genius. Crayon Shinchan World. Inside the water splitting sword dojo that has cut off the water flow. Musashi Kenta saw through Yoyogi's ultimate move at a glance, and his face was filled with horror. I didn't expect that the child's talent is so terrible that he has mastered a killing move. But Shinosuke's progress is much faster than I thought. This kendo competition will be interesting. Damn it, Bai Xiaofei was numb, and his mouth twitched for a while. What kind of world is this? A child, is it really possible to do this? In his opinion, this water flow interruption is simply unscientific. He originally thought that Xiaozhi could chop leaves with chopsticks, and he had already won. But after seeing Yoyogi's ultimate move, he felt uneasy again. The light screen video continued to play. Soon, with hard training day after day, the day of the kendo competition is approaching. Finally, on this day, Kenta and Shinchan stood in front of them and looked at the 6 big words Kendo Elimination Conference on the huge building. They couldn't calm down. Finally, this day has come. Are you ready, Shinosuke? Kenta asked calmly. Oh, Xiaozhi responded first, and then said, I accidentally brought my skis. I'll go back and get the sword props. Bang! Hearing this, Jiantai fell to the ground and looked at Xiao Xin, who was leaving. He couldn't help but complain, "You have no fighting spirit at all." On the way, Xiaoxin met an uncle who asked for directions. The uncle saw at a glance. Shinchan was also going to participate in the competition. After a conversation, the uncle felt that his son was very similar to Shinchan. They all like to study special moves. His sons have different understandings of kendo, so they often quarrel. After my son graduated from school, he ran away from home to find his own way in kendo. In his opinion, the most important thing about kendo is the basic skills, and he only taught his son the basic skills. This makes Xiaoxin feel that the son the uncle is talking about is very similar to his master. Post views 32. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 078. The final meeting, Yoyogi vs. Shinisuke. In the light curtain, after entering the venue, people from the Extreme Sword Dojo came to provoke me again. But this time, Xiaoxin and Jiantai ignored them. When it came time to group, Shinchan was put in Group B, and Yoyogi was put in Group A. As long as Shinchan could win all the games, he would always meet Yoyogi. The game adopts a 3-point system. Whoever can score 2 points first will win. The first match is between Shinchan and Kitao Gong of the Extreme Flow Dojo. On the field, Shinisuke and Kitao are facing each other. "Come on, Shinchan, don't get hurt." In the audience, Maya and Hiroshi cheered loudly for Shinchan. The referee said, "Salute each other." Shinisuke lowered his head at first and said, "Nice to meet you. My name is Noira Shinisuke. I like pretty older sisters, and my favorite is Nanako." "Don't talk about irrelevant topics," the referee shouted. "Prepare. Start." At the command, everyone took up a fighting stance. "I can kill a guy like this in one go." Kitao Gong was still in a daze, thinking about a lot of messy things in his mind. "Cantonese noodles." Shinisuke swung his sword down without any hesitation and hit the opponent's helmet directly. With a bang. Only then did Kitao Gong react. "Lost." "It's valid," the referee announced. Round 2 begins. This time, Kitao Gong thought about the failure in the last round, so he moved and took the lead in attacking. Bang, 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 bang. Sword after sword was thrown at Shinisuke's helmet, but he blocked them all. Next, Shinisuke seized the opportunity when Kitao was attacking and thrust forward, hitting his opponent directly in the body. Belly effective. At this moment, the winner has been decided. Roar. Now there was also a burst of applause. Sailor World, Sai Xiaoxi's pupils widened as he stared at the screen, his 2 robotic arms hugging his head tightly. No way, is Shinisuke so strong now? That guy was beaten so badly that he had no power to fight back. Carola nodded. It seems that the previous emergency training is still effective, but with these, he should not be the opponent of Yoyogi. 8 crossed his arms and said, "Very good, this is the momentum. Crayon Shinchan World, good job. Xiaoxin is worthy of being my son. It feels good. A good start." Guangxi clenched his fists and looked at the winning Xiaoxin on the screen and suddenly shouted excitedly, "Yeah." Mayo also smiled and said, "Just keep up the momentum." It seems that Xiao Xin is really talented in kendo. It has only been a short time, and he has made such great progress. The video screen on the screen continued to play. The game and Yoyogi start. Following the referee's order, Daidamu rushed directly to his opponent without hesitation. But he did not attack his opponent, but kept swinging his bamboo sword, causing his opponent's bamboo sword to swing along with him. Under the violent shaking, the opponent couldn't hold it all, and the bamboo sword flew directly into the sky. At this moment, Yoyogi chopped hard at the opponent's face. The surface is effective. Xiaoxin and Jiantai, who were watching the fight, were stunned. "Look, if you get hit by that trick, you're done." That move is called the bamboo sword flying technique. First, Yoyogi uses the vibrations up and down, left and right, to quickly hit the opponent's bamboo sword. Compared to this, the opponent's hands holding the bamboo sword began to become numb, and then the bamboo sword would fly out in less than 2 seconds. This move cannot be used without strong wrist strength. Kinta explained carefully to Shinisuke, but Shinisuke didn't understand a word. "Zombie World, damn, This must be fake. Bai Xiaofei opened his mouth wide and looked at the screen in disbelief. How come this guy is researching some weird moves? But this guy is quite strong. I wonder if Shinizuke is his match. Shinizuke's second match opponent is Ojita from Judo Dojo Soon. The two entered one after another. This big Haruta is indeed as strong as his name suggests, and looks a whole circle bigger than Shinizuke. You can tell at first glance that he is a power player. Start. The words fell. Ah! The big Haruta yelled, then rushed directly towards Shinizuke, swinging the bamboo sword in his hand vigorously from top to bottom. Secret technique. Niagara Falls. The attack of Haruta was like a waterfall, falling continuously. The powerful force made Shinchan have no strength to defend himself, and he was hit on the helmet by Hiruta's sword. The surface is effective. Doraemon Universe. This big Haruta is not simple either. Doraemon sighed. Compared with the others, his strength is too great. His secret technique is not so much a secret technique as it is a simple swing. It's just that this guy is too powerful. Shinchan can't resist him with his own strength. Is this the legendary one force breaking all laws? Fat Tiger nodded. That's right. I usually feel the same way when I beat Sunio. Sunio's mouth twitched. Why didn't you mention Nobita, but me? Oh, he almost forgot. Now it seems that he can't beat Nobita. That's fine. In the light curtain, it hurts. If you were a waterfall, Shinizuke scratched his head, but he already had a solution in mind. Round 2 begins. The big Haruta used the same trick on Shinizuke again. But the same move against Saint Seiya. Bah, you can't use it a second time on Xiaoxin while fending off Ojita's attack. Shinchan bent his knees and assumed a jumping posture. Then, keep a close eye on the frequency of Dazishin's attacks, and when he sees an opportunity, jump high up immediately. A sure kill. The carp leaps over the dragon gate. At this moment, Shinizuke was like a carp leaping over a waterfall, with a sword falling from the sky and landing steadily on the opponent's head. The third round was even more suspenseful. The big Haruta was in a state of doubt about his life because his special move that he had worked so hard on was cracked by Xiaoxin. He just stood there motionless, with a shadow in his head. So Xiaoxin slowly stepped forward and hit his hand. Great! Xiaoyu clenched her fist and cheered. Shinizuke won. That carp leaping over the dragon gate was so cool. That's right. Qianlong also nodded gently. To be able to find a solution in such a short time, this Noera Shinizuke is indeed a genius. Since the opponent is a waterfall, then why not become a carp that jumps over the waterfall? This special move has a really good name. At least it's much better than that Fu. Speaking of Fu, Qianlong can only remember that every time he fought with that guy, he always heard a lot of strange words from his mouth. Something like a black tiger digging out its heart, a crow flying in a plane, a tornado destroying a parking lot, etc. After seeing Xiaoxin win the second game, Maya and Guangxi in the audience were also very excited. What kind of opponent will be in the third round? Hearing Maya's question, Guangxi recalled, well, according to the schedule, it should be the nameless bar of the Extreme Sword Dojo, Nameless. That's right. Shinizuke's opponent in the third game is the fat guy who wanted to cause trouble for him at the beginning. Naruto World. Shippuden period, huh? This guy's name is really Wooming. How miserable. This name is destined to be a minor role. When Naruto saw that the little fat guy's name was actually Wooming, he couldn't help but complain. Just when Wooming wanted to go up to compete, his own director said, Wooming, put your ear over here. Yes. Then he heard his gym leader actually told him to commit a foul. Attack the place where he doesn't have any protective gear. With your strength, you definitely can't beat him. You're going to lose anyway. So why not help relieve the pressure on Yoyogi in the next game? Soon, both sides came to the competition field, although he was very reluctant. He decided to listen to his curator. I want to attack Shinchan's elbow, however. Just as he was attacking, the rice ball in Shinizuke's mouth got stuck in his throat. He reached out to grab his throat and avoided the attack. I actually got away with it. Wooming couldn't accept it. However, Jiantai outside the field frowned, noticing something unusual. Next, all his attacks were dodged by Xiaoxin due to various coincidences, And then Xiaoxin swung his hand and accidentally hit Wuming's mask. The surface is effective. In the second round, Wuming hesitated for a while and decided not to continue to foul. He wanted to compete with his own strength. But there's no doubt that he was easily killed by Xiaoxin as soon as he met him. The scene changes outside the venue at this moment. The curator was lecturing Wuming. "Why don't you do as I say? I want a fair fight. Stop joking, you useless guy." The director was annoyed and raised his bamboo sword, wanting to teach his apprentice a lesson. But before the bamboo sword was swung down, Jiantai grabbed it and said, "Stop it now. If you don't stop, I will soon." The battle between the two curators was about to break out. I originally thought it was a battle of equal strength, but I didn't expect that the arrogant extreme sword master was killed instantly by Jiantai's sword. The mother was beaten so badly that she fled in panic. "No way. This guy only has this little bit of strength. I saw that he had many disciples, so I thought he was very powerful." However, he was killed instantly by Musashi Kina with one sword. Pauline Farron was stunned. "So you are a weak chicken. Then why are you so arrogant? Isn't this courting death?" Tianyu smiled lightly. "Maybe it's because Mr. Kinta is too strong, but that curator is really funny. He is so grown up." After being beaten, his first reaction was to call for his mother. Taylor looked at the curator in the picture with cold eyes. He hated this kind of bully the weak the most. Humph, he actually instigated his apprentice to break the rules. It's simply outrageous. I'm afraid Yoyogi didn't want to win in this way, but luckily he didn't succeed. The scene on the screen continued to play. This is just a small episode. The competition in the venue is still going on. In this match, Xiaoxin's opponent is the person he has been training so hard to defeat, Yoyogi Kojiro. The two stood facing each other, and Shinchan was no longer as casual as he was in the previous competition. His eyes were full of fighting spirit. Crayon Shinchan World, Shinchan, you must win. In the park, the Kasakabe defense force cheered for Shinchan. Yes, Shinasuk nodded. I am very confident in myself in the picture. But why don't I see Sister Nanako? Didn't she say she would come to watch the game? Hearing this, everyone fell down. It's already this time, and you are still thinking about your big sister. Pigman World, Little Pig, do you think Shinasuk will be a match for Yoyogi? Feifei looked at the little pig standing beside her and asked. Pigman shook his head. I'm not sure. I feel that their strength should be evenly matched, but Yoyogi's ultimate move has not been used yet. But Shinasuk is a very sharp guy. I wonder if he can come up with a way to deal with that ultimate move. In short, neither side will win easily. Post views 32. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 079-079. Sword King Shinasuk ends. Nobita's biochemical crisis begins. In the light curtain through the mask, Yoyogi looked at Shinasuk with a smile. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. I've waited longer than you. No. I waited 3 times as long as you. No. It's so noisy, let's start. Even the referee couldn't stand it anymore and shouted impatiently. Yoyogi raised his bamboo sword in both hands and fixed his eyes on Shinasuk's bamboo sword. Use the bamboo sword flying technique to quickly finish you off. Thinking of this, he quickly swung the bamboo sword in his hand. However, in an instant, the bamboo sword on Shinji's assistant suddenly disappeared. Yoyogi's pupils shrank in disbelief. What, the bamboo sword disappeared? No, the bamboo sword did not disappear, but was thrown to the ground by Shinasuk. Taking advantage of Yoyogi's distraction, Shinasuk quickly picked up the bamboo sword that was about to fall to the ground and swung it down. Hit Yoyogi's arm. The hand works. Seeing this, everyone in the world was like Yoyogi in the picture, staring wide-eyed, filled with horror. Crayon Shinchan World. In the park, Nanny. Everyone was dumbfounded. Zhengnan looked at Shinasuk with admiration. Xiao Xian, that move you just made was so cool. Adai also nodded and said, you actually cracked the bamboo sword flying technique. Xiao Xian, you are really a genius. It was so fast. Nini exclaimed, I didn't even see when Xiaoxin dropped the bamboo sword. Xiao Xian touched his head and laughed. I'm not as good as you say. How is this possible? Kazama was stunned. Shinchan was so strong. That move just now was so cool. Tian Xiaoban clenched his fist and shouted excitedly. Xiaowen said, "This is just the 22nd group of children. I didn't expect Shinnesuk to come up with such a good idea. Zombie world, damn it. This move is really a bit of trick." Bai Xiaofei was shocked. Although this move looked simple, Shinnesuk's speed was too fast. Not to mention him. Even the Yoyogi in the picture didn't react. He couldn't see his movements at all, as if the bamboo sword disappeared out of thin air. It was really scary. In the light curtain, "You're really good at it, Noera." Yoyogi was also surprised by Shinnesuk's move just now, and he actually broke his bamboo sword flying technique. Round 2 begins. So take this move. The next second, Yoyogi's hands holding the bamboo sword began to spin, and a gust of wind blew. At this moment, the bamboo sword in Yoyogi's hand was like a windmill. This is also a special move that Yoyogi has mastered after practicing for a long time. Must kill windmill. What a strong wind. The strong wind made it impossible for Shinnesuk to open his eyes, and his body could not stop retreating, let alone fight back. Drink! Bang! With a loud bang, Yoyogi's bamboo sword had already landed heavily on Shinnesuk's mask. This, are you kidding me? Zhang Chulin's eyes almost popped out as he looked at Yoyogi's windmill stun on the screen. He pointed at the screen with his trembling right hand. No. Can ordinary people really do this kind of move? Susi was also numb. This is a bit of a joke. I would believe whatever supernatural powers you say Yoyogi has, but which ordinary person can just use his strength to generate wind that can blow people away? Not to mention, he's just a kid. This is simply too much. Su-Sin pushed his glasses. Yoyogi's attack was very heavy. It was so loud. Even with the protection of the mask, it must have felt uncomfortable. The screen continued to play. Sure enough, under Yoyogi's attack, Shinnesuk fell straight to the ground and fainted. This also gave Shinnesuk 5 minutes of rest time. If he still doesn't wake up after 5 minutes, Yoyogi wins the game. I don't know how long it took before Xiaoxin slowly opened his eyes. Where is this? Shinnesuk looked around. He clearly remembered that he was not in a kendo competition. Are you awake? Kenta looked at Xiaoxin and said at this time, Xiaoxin remembered what happened before, and Kenta explained to him the principle of Yoyogi's windmill. But, while in a coma, Shinchan accidentally wet his pants. The uncle who first approached Xiaoxin to show him the way took out a pair of colorful shorts and said, "I'll lend them to you." So gorgeous. But when Jiantai saw the flower shorts, he suddenly thought of something. Soon, Shinnesuk came to the competition again. The game begins. I want you to remember this moment forever. Noera. Yoyogi repeated his old trick and used a special skill, windmill. A terrible gust of wind blew, but Shinchan's attention was attracted by the lifted flowered shorts. In an instant, a great idea suddenly emerged in his mind. Drink! Just as Yoyogi swung his sword, he suddenly discovered that Shinnesuk's figure had disappeared. Disappeared? Impossible. Next, a black shadow suddenly appeared on the floor. Yoyogi looked up suddenly and found that Shinnesuk had used a strong wind and his wide flowered pants to fly into the sky. Secret technique, parachute. In an instant, a sword landed on Yoyogi's head, scoring another point. The winner is Noera Shinnesuk. Crayon Shinchan World, yay hubby. Our Shinchan won, and now he is the champion. Missy was so excited that she shed tears. After all, the biggest competitor in this kendo competition is Yoyogi. Now that he is defeated, the championship is basically set in stone. Yes, Hiroshi looked at Shinnesuk in the picture with a proud look on his face. When I think of the scene of Shinnesuk holding up the trophy, it feels like a dream. It is unexpected that the boy is unexpectedly talented in swordsmanship. Winner! Atiedao raised his arms and cheered. Well done, Shinnesuk. I knew you would win. Sai Xiaoxi was also a little surprised. It could be seen that Shinnesuk's brain is really fast. Facing different skills, he can come up with corresponding solutions. The first waterfall, the bamboo, sword flying skill, and this time the windmill. Shinnesuk has perfectly cracked their skills. You are indeed a kendo genius. Sai Xiaoxi nodded slightly. At this time, Jiantai also realized the true identity of the uncle next to him who knew the way it's his father. Now Xiaoxin is only one game away from becoming the champion and winning the trophy. But what I didn't expect was, after Xiaoxin said hello to Yoyogi, he picked up his equipment and left the stadium. The opponent wins without fighting in the finals? What is this child thinking? Even Maya and Hiroshi, who were sitting in the audience, were confused. But even so, they did not call Xiaoxin and let him leave. No one understands Xiaoxin's behavior, but everyone has seen through everything. Kina looked at Shinchan's departing back, put his hands on his hips, and laughed. I like you very much, Shinizuke. That's right. It doesn't matter to you whether you win the championship or not. What do you mean? The father beside him asked. Kenta smiled softly. Shinizuke has surpassed me when I was defeated by Yoyogi. That is to say, he has surpassed himself and achieved his goal. I see. After hearing what Jiantai said, everyone understood. The true meaning of kendo is not to pursue victory blindly, but to constantly surpass yourself and recognize what you really want. Crayon Shinchan World. When Maya and Hiroshi saw the scene on the screen, they were stunned and the smiles on their faces froze for a moment. They didn't expect that Xiaoxin would not even participate in the finals and just slip away. Hey, although what Mr. Kina said makes sense, I still really want to see that guy win first place. Mei sighed, but soon calmed down. Although Xiao Xin did not participate in the finals, in the eyes of the audience, he is still the first place. That's enough. One Piece World. The true meaning of kendo is to constantly surpass yourself. Well, that's really great, Zoro exclaimed, with a smile on his face, looking at Shinchan in the picture with satisfaction. Shinosuke, I like you too. Unlike Nobita, Nobita picks up the sword to protect. Shinosuke picks up the sword to surpass his past self and eliminate the haze in his heart. However, he likes both of these sword styles very much. A few days later, all the disciples who had practiced in the Extreme Flow Sword Dojo came to Jiantai's dilapidated dojo. But this time it wasn't Jiantai who taught them, but his father. After entrusting his apprentice to his father, Musashi Kenta, a passionate young man who has practiced kendo for more than 10 years, is about to start his practice again. Before leaving, he still had an important thing to do. That is to say goodbye to his founding disciple, Noera Shinizuke. But when he arrived at the place where he had agreed to meet with Shinizuke, he saw Shinizuke wearing a kendo uniform, holding a bamboo sword and standing in the wind, looking at him calmly. Master, before you leave, have a competition with me. Okay, Kenta hummed. And the next second, Shinizuke immediately attacked him. But Jiantai dodged it easily and then swung the sword down. At last, the bamboo sword stopped on Shinizuke's head. Master is really amazing, Shinizuke said, touching the back of his head. It's okay. Jiantai touched his nose. Next second, Shinizuke put away his playful expression, became serious, and lowered his head towards Kenta. Thank you for your long-term guidance. Me too, thank you. In this sad and funny atmosphere, the master and the apprentice finally said goodbye. Jiantai set out on his journey again, and he was shocked to find that his clothes had been cut. That's just an ordinary bamboo sword. So, in a sense, Xiaoxin won the game just now. Kena couldn't help but sigh. What a pity. If Shinizuke insists on practicing kendo, he will definitely become an outstanding swordsman in the future. As the bus drove away, Musashi Kenta's journey of kendo training truly began. The next second, the scene faded into darkness. 150. Super Beast World, it's really scary, using only a bamboo sword to cut through clothes. Huolin Fei shook his head and couldn't help but sigh. It seems that what Kena said was right. If Noera Shinizuke continues to practice, his future achievements will be limitless. It's such a pity indeed. Miao Qiaojuan also agreed, but I have to admit that Musashi Kena is a very good master. If it were an ordinary person, I'm afraid he really wouldn't have the patience to teach Shinizuke. After all, Shinchan is really too naughty. If it weren't for Yoyogi's stimulation, I'm afraid he wouldn't take kendo seriously at all. Crayon Shinchan World, it's rare to see that boy so serious. In Futaba Kindergarten, teacher Yoshinaga looked at the screen. Even as Shinchan's teacher, she rarely saw Shinchan like this. Usually Shinchan was quite frivolous, as if nothing could bother him. This shows that he really regards Mr. Kenta as his master, which is great. The headmaster smiled and said, "But it's a pity. We should let Xiaoxin continue to practice kendo. This talent should not be wasted. Is there any way to solve this problem?" Teacher Yuyo suddenly had an idea. "I remember that Shin-chan really likes a big sister named Nanako. If we just let her speak, it should be okay." Yes, that's a good idea. At the same time, in the dojo of Musashi Kenta, Kenta was taking a bath in a wooden barrel. When he saw the picture on the screen, he couldn't help but stand up from the barrel. "Shinizuke, you are indeed my most promising disciple." "No, I must let Shinizuke continue on the path of kendo. He will definitely become a kendo master who surpasses me in the future." Kenta's eyes lit up with fighting spirit. Although he also wanted to go on a spontaneous trip with himself in the picture, after careful consideration, he chose to continue teaching Shinizuke for a while. Because he found, although Shinizuke's strength is not as good as his, he can still learn a lot from Shinizuke that he had previously neglected. As the saying goes, a true master always maintains the heart of an apprentice. But how can we let Shin-chan continue to practice kendo? The video has ended. Characters being cleared. Rewards are being cleared. In the world of Crayon Shin-chan, Noera Shinizuke received a reward, a year's worth of Super Deluxe Supreme King Gold Bear cookies.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.